Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus, on the forum.
And this is Parker, go by Dr. Mantis Toboggan MD on forums.
This is Jeremy. I still don't believe in it. I don't believe in forums.
And this is Aaron, or Aaron.
The new constant forum poster, I hear.
Oh yeah, number 2.
Yeah, so fucking popular.
Yeah, you are like all over it.
He's so
Tear
hot
it
right
up.
now, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I am pretty sexy.
All right, so getting into it first, Parker, you have been here today, so you're going to knock your episode count down to 646.
He was late, though. I mean, I can't give him full credit for that. 6:45.
Also, we need to talk about a bet we made, but apparently I forgot to write down the number of episodes that we bet, so I'm just going to assume it was 1,000. Do you remember how many it was?
I want to say, was it 50? That's just the number that pops up first, but I don't remember if it was that.
He
small.
generally
I wish
bets
I remembered.
50.
I
It's
generally
generally
like
50.
Let's take a vote because neither of us really remember. So all for 1,000, hands up.
I'm in.
All right, we had
I
two.
remember. Now
Aaron,
that I
do we
remember.
get a third? All right, I think it was 52 actually.
Okay.
So we'll do that. The bet was that the Winter Guard affiliation on release will have 6 affiliated models.
Ooh.
Parker, can you look up and check how many they have?
I'm looking at it right now.
Check again,
Okay,
real
right.
quick.
Just real quick.
Make
though.
sure it's
Okay,
official.
listeners, I wish you all could have been there when I found out, when I saw it myself. I stormed into the next room and I said,
I bet you
4
were so mad.
fucking models? How can I polish this turd with 4 goddamn models? I lost the bet.
I really
yes.
wish their leadership was like they could have 2 rogue agents. Like that was their leadership.
Yes.
That would be so fitting.
I'm
They have a
so I want you to, I knew I was going to lose the bet, and that was no ointment on that burn that I felt intensely, because I like the idea of a stoic faction that sits there and takes it. It sounds like I would enjoy it, like my kind of game, and then
Oh, you're taking it.
I only get 4 fucking models. God
They
damn it.
gave you everything they had.
That's it. It's precisely accurate. Everything they had.
That's the
Fucking
best
Deadpools and Avengers. God damn it.
that Russia has to offer.
There's a non-zero
I actually-
chance I'll run them for the next 2 or 3 months just to see how they play.
I actually think their models are good. I think Red Guardian is hugely underrated.
I think he's going to be
Maybe not hugely. I think he's underrated because I think people realize he's good.
I think he's going
But
to
I
be
think
like
he's
the Hood of this release. I think he's going to be.
maybe not
lots of
hood. I
places.
think he's gonna be the Luke Cage of this release.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like people think he's probably good, but then they get him on the table and go, "Man, this guy is awesome!"
Yeah.
Like he's just going to be in so many of my lists now.
Yeah.
Because a 3-point board controller that is fairly sturdy is pretty rare right now.
There's not a lot of 3-pointers that just straight up push.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really solid.
They push and then probably don't die while they're on the point, right?
Probably don't die.
Like
He's like a pseudo bodyguard with his
Yeah.
like Heroes for Hire card.
right,
So that's cool.
he has a reasonable chance not to just get one-shotted while he's also pushing people off the place. Like it's really strong for 3 points.
I can't remember now. Comrade's Keeper.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it? It's if he suffers damage and is not dazed, you get to throw. Okay. Anyway, so moving on. Just a quick reminder: on September 3rd, we're doing the Midwest Melee at the Geekery. If you want to go ahead and sign up, the Best Coast Pairings event has been created, and all you have to do is go on and register through the event code. You pay at the door, but it will save your spot. So if you want to go ahead and sign up in advance, you can. If not, we'll see you day of, but I would like to get kind of a head count for how many people we're going to have. Next up, Muse on Minis has officially shipped our custom playmats.
Woohoo!
Hey,
Very excited. We should hopefully have them tomorrow.
Do they say
they-
do they say our names on them at least?
No, they're just
Damn it.
cool mats.
Oh,
I didn't understand the point in branding them. Because,
Okay.
like, you would have to be so close to see it unless it was really off-puttingly big.
No.
And so,
I don't mean our like the podcast name. I meant like your name in a pretty like embossed gold signature, like a really
It just says like "Be Rad" real big on it.
Yeah, just something. I know. I'm thinking like a really loopy thing, like the.
Oh no,
like
I don't
like
do
a
loopy.
really pretty cursive signature.
Rigid straight lines,
like an Eddie Bauer truck.
I'm thinking like 8 inches tall in the bottom corner, just fucking
with a heart for the O.
Shit. Yeah, really owning it.
Weirdly didn't do that. Weirdly didn't do that.
Because you designed it, right? You made it, right?
No, he made it. I just helped him with the design.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even help with the design. The artwork has all been there for a very long time. I just helped him create the overlay that is on the mats.
Okay, so you basically did it.
Yeah, pretty much all me. But those will be available for sale fairly soon on the Muso Minis website, so you're welcome if you're looking for reasonably priced, in-stock Marvel mats that have marked objective markers and deployment zones. Also, you can order them without the overlay and just get good mats.
I'll take 8.
If you don't want the overlay. Yeah.
Consider them immediately out of stock.
Immediately. Well, they're currently out of stock because I ordered literally everyone I had.
That's what I'm saying.
And so that's sorry, I get in first because I helped him. Yeah. Moving on, our next little addendum. This is episode 100.
Woo!
This is going to be us celebrating 2 years of podcasting.
We fucking did it. We finally fucking did it.
We started out, episode 0 was just me and Parker. Jeremy joined us on episode 1. And then Aaron has jumped in over the last, was it almost 2 months now?
About 2 months.
About 2 months. And so I think we're having a pretty good time here, so hopefully you guys enjoy the podcast.
You better fucking enjoy it. I'm telling you right now.
Better fucking enjoy it. That's kind of what I said.
Well, they haven't taken us down yet, so I think at least 100 more.
They're trying.
Funny story. It was a close call. So I don't know if anybody realizes we host through a website called Anchor, which is a podcast hosting website that was recently acquired by Spotify. I don't know if anybody listens on Spotify, but Spotify is not our biggest fans. And I honestly thought they had canceled our podcast.
They're happy
because of Jeremy screaming Rona every time he gets on the podcast.
No.
We had 2 blue bars saying that we gave out COVID misinformation. So far, I've got multiple screenshots from people that we have not gotten a third one yet. But when I was trying to upload last week's episode, it would not let me. And it was saying that our podcast was not up anymore. And I thought that because they took us over and they just disqualified us from posting. And so I thought that our podcast was being forcibly ended at 99.
So
and I was like, no, we almost made it.
We almost made it.
So what was it? How did this resolve? Like, what did it...
Apparently, during the transition, their servers were just down for like 6 hours. And that was exactly what I was trying to upload. So it was just a really weird coincidence, and I was really scared. Because they updated the logo to say Anchor by Spotify, and I was like, oh no, they got us. They bought Anchor to stop us.
Yep.
They needed to silence us through the freaking old media.
I will only... the only kind of takeover I will accept is a hostile takeover.
Hostile. Come get me, motherfuckers.
Yes.
Anyway. So some fun announcements we have. We have officially now over 100 subscribers on YouTube.
Suckers.
There you go.
That watch our battle reports. If anybody is unfamiliar, if you go to Infamous MCP on YouTube, you can watch over 120 of our battle reports where we have filmed games, including some of Aaron and our TTS games. Aaron's uploading all of his Season 8 games on TTS to our YouTube channel as well. So thank you, Aaron. And then also we've got games from the Show Me Showdown, from Adepticon, from Bug Eater, and from local tournaments and games we play around here. So those are all cool. One final podcast announcement. We have broken 10,000 listens total on the podcast.
In Guernsey
10,038. Yeah, Guernsey's most of them.
I try and put it on when I'm driving on silent, like every day.
I just mute it. And then
I mean, we're trying to get our numbers up. Like, come on, how are we gonna get paid, motherfucker?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no monetizing, but
I've already quit my job. Wait, what?
What does monetization mean?
I was told there was gonna be. Oh no.
Yeah, I was told.
Yeah, this is not the way to get dick towel flush with money.
Okay.
This is you're gonna have to create your own website to sell dick towels.
Well,
I've been misinformed.
I have some calls to make.
I don't know if that's good or not. I have no relevance, but I don't know. That seems like a lot. 10,000 listens seems like a lot to me. I'm pretty excited. I think that means that we've been vindicated. We've been doing this for 2 years now, and we haven't been canceled yet, despite Spotify's best attempts.
For those of you with math, that's better than 100 listens per episode. That's pretty good.
That's true, because episode 100 has not aired yet.
Yeah.
You would think that would be simple math,
episode 0.
I never came to that. Well done. Thank you, Parker.
Even with episode 0, it's still over 100.
Yeah.
Damn.
Alrighty. So, Parker, for the final episode of season 1, what do you got for us?
News.
So,
I think it's really appropriate. We've been waiting for the Human Torch and the Fantastic Four for a long time, so I have it here. His card has been spoiled. Look no further. It says here the original Human Torch. What the fuck? It's not.
Parker, I feel like AMG is just twisting the knife with you right now.
As soon as
four characters for Winter Guard and also the original Human Torch.
As soon as I looked at this fucker's card, I was like, what fantastic art for Johnny Storm, you chicken shits. Anyway, so the original Human Torch is Jim Hammond. He's got 3/4/2 as his defensive stat line. He's got 5 health. He's 3 costed, 2 size, medium move, and identical on both sides. His attacks are pretty original, pretty cool about being all a fire user. His first attack is a gainer, so it only gains 1 power per hit, but it's a beam 3 with 4 dice and a wild immolate. It's energy, of course, being fire. His other energy attack is a Spender. It's a very unique one right now for several reasons. First, it's a Beam 2. It is 4 base dice and only costs 1. However, you can add dice to the roll up to 7 more for spending an extra power per dice. So if you want a Beam 2 with 5 dice, spend 2 power. Every time you spend a power, you add an extra dice, and you can spend up to 7 power, making a total of 11 dice for 8 total power at Beam 2. After each attack is resolved, the target is incinerated automatically, and this character suffers 1 damage if that attack deals damage after the attack is resolved. So, do we want to stop and talk about his attacks? Because I feel like they're pretty unique and weird.
Let's talk about the attacks. So, what do you guys have anything to say about these?
I think his Spender is really cool, being able just to splash out incinerates. I mean, you pay 1 and you can
guaranteed incinerate.
On probably 2 models, right? Like, I mean,
yeah.
2 is.
I think 2 is going to be very common. Yeah.
I don't hate them. I've seen dumber fucking attacks in this game.
Yeah, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but yeah, I think I like this as well. Aaron, do you have any thoughts?
Nothing spectacular. I mean, yeah.
So
he's too
for me,
hot
I
to
guess.
Make a hot take on right now. How about that?
Okay. For me, I think it's actually extremely relevant. I think the fact that he has a beam gainer and a power dump attack. This guy is really good against bunched up targets, obviously. So let's say you throw your beam 3 and hit 3 people. Well, you're gaining 3 power. You already had 1 for power up. That means you can throw a 7 dice beam 2 just straight up, like just right there from the power you've generated this turn alone. And like Aaron said, you're guaranteed incinerating Jeremy said, you're guaranteed incinerating all of them. The taking damage for dealing damage, I think, is very relevant, though. I feel like he's going to more often than expected KO himself in a game because you're going to, I hit 4 people, like I have to do it, and then he just dies. Like, it's kind of interesting.
What is interesting is just kind of you can use it kind of like Jeremy said, is if you don't want to take damage, you could just spend 1 to get an auto incinerate because the likelihood of you hitting is pretty low, so you might not take any damage. So your
4-die attack on average should actually damage most people in the game.
Right, especially because it's energy. Energy is also average low. So I mean, it's possible to take a damage for it. And for that reason, maybe you only use it when you really want to blow somebody up because you only take 1 damage if you do any damage, right? So if you did 1 damage to him and you take 1 damage back, that's a pretty bad trade. But if you do 4 damage for 1 damage, maybe you're cool with that.
Well, how about this? Being that he's got a beam 3 gainer, how often do you think in a game he could see 10 power, counting like taking damage and stuff? Like he wakes up on injured side. Pretty easy to have 10 power. And if he's got a lined up shot, you can spend 1 to auto incinerate all those people. and then do it again and spend 7 power
Oh,
and do your enormous attack when they're already incinerated.
with just the gainer, that sounds easy, right? But he has a power to
Yeah.
get even more power, and it's actually got really unique timing. Can I mention this one since we're talking about power?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and do the powers.
Okay, so the first power he's got is spending power is hit and run, which is a standard hit and run, attack first, then move, which is pretty relevant with his beams, lets him get the angles he wants. Too hot to handle, which is costs 3. Choose an enemy character within 2. They immediately drop specifically an asset token. Not every red token in the game is an asset, right? So is that true? Because civilians are not assets. Am I crazy?
Correct.
I haven't. Yeah. So you have to be specific about which one, but it's only one asset. So if they're holding holding 3 hammers, then they can't drop all 3, but you drop 1. Also for 2 power, he can, like touching a stovetop, when an enemy character pushes or throws him, he can, for 2 power, cause 1 damage to the person that threw him or pushed him. And then the passive ability that I mentioned that allows him to gain extra power at a really interesting timing. When this character ends an advance, it gains 1 power for each character within 2 of it while the Incinerate special condition is on that character. So if you move within range 2 of 1 Incinerate character, you get 1 power. 2 Incinerate characters, you get 2 power, so on and so forth. Notably, something to think about, the original Human Torch is a shield character, and there are like 3 tactics cards in shield that advance you. So he would get power for any of those as well. So he could be getting power on other people's turns or even your opponent's turns if he's moving towards people with Incinerate. He is also immune to Incinerate because, he's always on fire and he flies.
So does his ability to get power with that superpower pair well with hit and run?
Absolutely.
So I think it's very synergistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think his kit's really interesting. And
Es-
personally, I really hope that the too hot to handle is what we see for asset stealing moving forward. It is restricted to assets. It is a 3-cost ability, and it doesn't take it. It just forces them to drop it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is, and it's only 1 token. I think that is exactly in line with what I think these abilities should do. And I really hope we see that kind of errata on previous characters.
Yeah, I really like, he's one of those characters that once he gets up to 2 power, he's going to be very mobile, constantly having all the power he needs, because he's going to be using controlled burn to get his power back, using his attacks to get his power back. Like, he'll always feel like he has enough to do his thing. But I don't think, unless he takes a whole bunch of damage, that he also will not feel like he's probably sitting on a ton of power either, because he can blow it all in Nova Burst or one of his cool powers.
I think Nova Burst looks super cool. It looks like something that'd be fun to try and play in a game. Even if it's maybe not the best attack, but it just looks interesting.
Another notable thing, he joins a very small crew of 3-pointers that have 4 energy defense.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple reasons why that's important in the game.
Well, I mean, just from scenario standpoint,
Yeah.
he's a model that can make you drop objectives and has 4 energy defense for 3 points.
Yeah, for 2.
That's an exceptional scenario piece.
Oh, he's 3 points.
That's, what did I say?
I thought you said 4 points.
I thought I said 3 points.
Okay.
If I did, I misspoke.
Okay.
I think he'll be a tech piece in Shield. I don't think he'll be a staple in every roster. But
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Shield plays the objective game very well. He A, can help with that, and B, he gives them an attrition burn down possibility. I mean, he really is a glass cannon. He has 0 defensive tech. It's all about putting out incinerates and burning people to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, he gives that ability himself or the incinerates for the team and lets Shield play some attrition if they want to, but will not be a staple in rosters. That's my...
I think he could very easily get into positions where he can like advance, hit and run, Nova Blast, and incinerate 2 people and back out, and then allow the rest of your team to do the work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he leaves like a really good stick and move model. Very strong for that.
Mm-hmm. I think he's a well-designed kit in general.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's particularly powerful, but he's good.
Yeah, I appreciate the design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about him is that it doesn't say Johnny Storm. Because man, if Johnny Storm would have been this, I would have been so pleased. But well, I guess we'll. Oh,
I don't
actually,
know if I would have. I think this is not the design space I would be looking for Johnny Storm.
I don't know. I think this is actually one of the things I when I read him after I got done, I was like, oh man, how do you make a Human Torch after this? I guess they made 2 Spider-Mans, right? So maybe they can do that for this.
Oh yeah,
But-
there's a lot of design space left.
Yeah.
I'd be looking for more of a, I guess, kind of more of like a Captain Marvel design space. Not exactly, but like
Mhm.
more of like a blaster. I mean, not that this guy's not a blaster, but damage dealing is not his, I think, primary concern.
Mhm.
Feels like he's got a lot of utility stuff and support, and I wouldn't see that for Johnny.
Yeah.
Johnny definitely seems like the go out and get shit done kind of guy.
Right. Well, he
Like
leaves.
I
with
see Johnny having charge more than
Right.
hit and run.
like he leaves, like Johnny leaves this face, right? This Jim Hammond's character is a reserved android, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, curiously, he's not immune to bleed, even though he's an android.
He's got an oil leak.
We talk about his affiliated card.
Yeah. So, a new age is the card that comes with him. If he's playing in Shield, Jim Hammond can spend 3, and if he does that, each enemy character within 3 of him gains Incinerate immediately. This round, when an allied Shield character is attacking a character with Incinerate, if the attack type is energy, add 2 dice to the attack roll. So you get a damage buff and a defensive negative in one card. You said you don't think he'll be a staple. I think if you're running the Shield guys that have the energy attacks, of which there aren't that many because they're overflowing with physical attacks. There are only a few energiers. But if you're going to run them, I think this card may be good enough for a blitz turn that he makes it, even if you were not planning. I think you could run him a lot if you really enjoy Iron Man in your list. He's always going down. I played a lot of Shield, and I did not play Iron Man every game, but
So I'm just looking at the options. It's really Hawkeye, Iron Man, and
Yeah.
that's it.
that's really
you need to look further.
Well, obviously you
Why?
can play the initiative on anyone. Like,
Deadly Duo
But-
Rocket.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, you're only getting the bonus on the same character, but yeah, it's obviously still good.
What do you mean the same character?
Right. He plays this on a single person, I thought. Right?
No.
Oh,
No.
it's each enemy character in 3 gains Incinerate?
It
Oh,
is-
yeah.
it is
and
all webbed
anybody
up.
who's also incinerated is also.
Yeah, it's just like all webbed up, yeah.
So again,
Yeah, that's relevant.
I think it's really good, but I think Shield's playstyle is best suited to cat and mouse, play the scenario objective game. And I don't think this card and this model wants to do that. I think this is I'm going to go and blow up the world. You bring a team that helps to do that. So if you have him in your roster, along with the other models that potentially accompany him, and you find that you're not going to win the scenario game, you put him in your squad and you plan on having an attrition-based strategy. I just don't think that's Shield's primary game plan.
I've been playing Shield after I started playing him, and I was kind of focusing on scenario. I found that they have a couple innate advantages that I liked so much, and they do it without paying for it. They're so efficient and effective at a couple different things that they just get for free. So I actually focused on attrition, and I said I'm just going to make sure I'm winning the attrition game as hard as I can while playing Shield, and just count on the fact that I have all these just passive scenario bonuses constantly, and it's worked really well. I think he fits into that game plan very well. The only problem with, of course, like we talked about, is unlike a lot of the other Shield members, he's not very sticky. A lot of Shield attrition pieces you really sit there and do a lot of damage very consistently and don't fall down, and he falls down a lot faster. But I think this one blow up turn could be worth it if you were willing to play the initiative, which I tried it a lot and I could never get enough out of it, but you could maybe with this.
So let's talk about it then. If you do the Rocket Deadly Duo A New Age combo, you're looking at 3 tactic slots.
That's a lot in a faction that loves its fantastic tactics cards. That's a
Yeah.
bunch.
I think it's more memeish than good. Although, if you could pull it off, I mean, I don't know. Those are effective 8 dice attacks times 5. Like, that's just owning the world.
Why are they effective 8? You're counting Incinerate as an attack die.
Effectively, yes.
Okay.
The other thing is, I don't think why you don't bring Montesi, because at that point, every shield character has access to a 6 dice energy beam.
Yes.
So there's lots of different things you can do with this card and this character that I think is really interesting.
Montesi was
Not to mention
already
they're
pretty strong.
already
Yeah.
Shield's already good at Montesi.
Yeah, they already liked it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I do not
this
know.
is clearly good.
Yeah, I do not know. I still don't know if initiative is good enough, even with this combo. But I think it's worth a playtest.
I think you just don't need it. Like,
Yeah.
you could just include any energy attacker. And
Oh,
it's
forgot.
already good.
We forgot one. The Howling Commandos. Their guns are energy guns. I forgot that. So that's 3 energy guys already. So it's the Human Torch himself, Iron Man, Howling Commandos, and Hawkeye. That's 4. That's plenty. Like you got your options there. In Shield, all taking advantage of the energy. That's plenty.
Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos are not Shield characters.
They will be.
Yes, they are.
They will be.
They are.
Are they?
They
will
are.
Where is that written down?
I think they mentioned it point blank in the mini extravaganza, right?
Oh no. I mean,
90. No, I'm pretty sure they said just straight up.
Technically, they are not. Boy, this is awkward.
I'll take that bet.
I'll take that bet. Oh boy, he's ready. He's gonna make up some numbers.
Yeah.
I'm checking now. Shield. No, sorry, just Nick Fury. So you're gonna lose that bet. Actually, technically, it just says Nick Fury, but then it has the leader star. So I think it's pretty clearly talking about not the Heli Commandos.
Yeah.
Also, they just have grenades, which cost 1.
I thought their basic gun was a
prototype weapons are physical.
Oh, I thought they were energy, but they do have an energy weapon that costs 1. That's good enough.
Grenades is their energy weapon,
and it does do incinerate also, right?
Yeah, it applies incinerate while they're getting the incinerate bonus. Yep.
Yeah.
So here's the tangential tie-in to my forum post. If you have Nick Fury Jr. with his grunts, the shield agents, pick up a Montesi book, would they benefit from the New Age bonus of 2 extra dice against an incinerated target or not?
I would say no.
I would say
Parker?
probably not. I would say no because it says very explicitly they don't interact with tactics cards. But...
No. That's not why. It's because they're not shield characters. They're not affiliated characters.
Oh.
Because they are not listed in the shield affiliation.
Brandon is right. They would otherwise benefit.
Right.
For
because
instance,
the rules for grunts and tactics cards says that they cannot be targeted or chosen as an effect.
So like Hood's gang does work for like the ninjas.
Yes, because they are characters.
Right. Yeah.
And as long as you're not choosing them for anything, they're fine. Enemies can still do it, just not friendly abilities.
Right.
But they're not faction models. So, similar to being, like, let's say you were playing Cabal with Sinister, and he summons X-23. X-23 is not a Cabal model, and so she can't use Dark Rain, even though she was summoned by a Cabal model.
Yep, I'm with you.
Ninjas are not criminals as well, I believe.
Yep. The shield agents are not shield, and the Hydra troopers are not Hydra.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of odd when you think about it.
A little bit. But
but I think currently this is the only effect in the game that it's relevant for.
Correct. Currently, I think so.
Let's see. Are there any criminal affiliated cards that would matter?
Nope.
No, because they all target a criminal. So. So they
or require you to spend power, right?
Yes.
The vast majority of cards, yes, require power or affect allies.
Well, it's okay if it affects allies,
right?
As long as you're not choosing them. Yeah.
Like, trying to think, Dark Rain. Is that Cabal only?
No. Cabal model.
Cabal pays, yep.
The grunts would not get the bonus, though, because they're not allied Dark Cabal models.
Correct. So that's another, if they were to produce a model that had grunts in Cabal, those grunts would not benefit from Dark Rain.
Yeah, correct. So the Hydra minions from Red Skull will not gain the benefit of Dark Rain.
However,
because they're not affiliated.
Grunts would benefit from Plane of Poldak.
Yes, because it just requires mystical attacks.
Right, because it says allied characters may reroll. So allied characters, Grunts benefit. Cabal characters or affiliated characters, they won't benefit.
All right, so I think that covers Human Torch's card. Do we have one more?
Yep, over the top. Only Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos or Steve Rogers can pay 2 power to play it. You choose an enemy character within range 4 of either Nick Fury or Steve, and then the Steve or Nick Fury advances towards that character they chose. After the advance is done, your opponent can choose any character they control to make 1 attack against either Nick Fury or Steve, whoever's playing it. It's a super huge block of text to say, Nick Fury or Steve pay 2 to move towards a target model, and then anybody can attack them.
Yeah. So I have a couple questions. First, is this card good?
Why don't you ask him more?
It's a cheap, opposite of Face Me, right?
It's one cheaper than Face Me, but I would generally argue that moving an opposing model is better than moving a friendly model. Obviously, that's situational. Did we undervalue climbing gear even more than we thought? Because, man, keep in mind that one of the 2 characters that can legally play this card has a free move ability.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Also, the faction has several abilities to move a model.
Yeah. This seems like a super fluffy card to put in the game. Because it's super thematic. They're charging over the hill, taking on the bad guys. It's very Captain America first movie. Hurrah, let's go. I like that about it. I think it's a really cool card. I think it's probably dog shit, but very cool card. Kind of like Magnetic Crush. It needs to exist in the game, but is not going to get played.
Now this will benefit the OG Steve Rogers as well, so he could take it in Avengers or out of affiliation.
Yeah, it is notably not affiliated.
Ooh. Oh, it's Steve Rogers, though. I was thinking it was just Captain America, because Sam could play it, and that could be cool. Sam moving long, ending out of line of sight, and then, throwing his shield at somebody. That could be really cool.
There are some very niche plays where if you're going into, say, Juggernaut, on a flank, you play this card, you advance, you end up with just outside of range 2.
Mm-hmm.
No one can attack you. Okay, it's basically climbing gear with a lot of stipulations.
Except you also don't gain wall crawler, but yes.
A lot of stipulations.
It's a lot of stipulations.
I see it being far too niche to be taken in a roster, much less a squad.
I saw that Tim said earlier that climbing gear was way overrated, and I was like, you clearly have played Web Warriors for too long.
Yes, I agree with you. I still miss climbing gear. I don't miss med pack. Okay, I lied. I miss med pack. I don't miss field dressing. The card I miss the most is climbing gear.
I need to adjust my mic just a second. Okay, that should be good. Keeps creeping up on me. I don't know why. Hopefully my sound has been okay this time. All right. Anyone else have thoughts about this card?
I don't
Awesome.
I don't think you're going to see
Nobody
that very
cares.
often. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see it.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So in celebration of our 100th episode, we're going to do a little bit of a backstory about us in general, and our gaming experience. This is going to be kind of a round table, take turns explaining your experience in gaming. So we're going to start off with when did you start playing games? And I'm going to specifically put this into tabletop games. So when basically did you get into miniature gaming for the most part? If you want to count board games or role playing or something instead, that's fine. But when did you first get in? We'll just go around the table. So Parker, you're up.
In high school, I bought my very first Tau 40K little army box. It came with a devilfish and some Tau Fire Warriors. And I remember being up in my room in my senior year of high school, putting them together and painting them just terribly. And I hated that so much. That the modeling, that was such a terrible, terrible experience. To say nothing bad about GW minis or Tau minis, I just hated.
You can
everything.
say bad stuff about them. That's
I
fine.
could, but I didn't. I don't think it's them. I think it's me. And I hated that so much. I decided I love the concept and this idea of playing minis games, but I could not ever enjoy modeling them. So I just dropped it like a bad habit until in college, Mech Warrior the WizKids one where you came out.
The clickies.
Yeah, the clicks. And I was like, you mean you can buy these pre-painted? And I bought so much plastic crack of that game. And I played that game hard in Lawrence while I was going to college. And there was a pretty good group there. A tiny store. But we had a lot of players playing that game.
Do you know what year roughly it was?
That would have been 2005. In 2005. And that was the first minis game. And War Machine came out like 8 months later.
Yeah, Black Box.
The Black Box games. I bought Magnus Box and Signar. That's it.
All right. Jeremy, you remember when you got into tabletop games?
Yeah. I just have a question for Parker, though, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to buy Tau? Like, what? Well, like, you went into a fucking Walmart or a Price Chopper, and you're like, oh, there's some Tau on the shelf. Like, how did you get, like, I'm curious.
So I loved 40K lore. When I was in high school, I actually picked up at a used bookstore one day. I found a bunch of old codexes, and I bought them because I was
Used
like, "This
bookstore.
looks
Okay.
yeah." And so I bought a whole bunch, like a pile of the Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40K codexes, and then I found out where you could buy them new. And so I bought the basic rule book and every codex for maybe what was that, third or fourth edition in 2000s. And
it would have been 4th edition in 05.
yeah, so I would have been 3rd edition, yeah. So I bought almost every codex for the game in...
And those are the ones with like the thick concrete gray borders around the edge?
Yep.
With like big Warhammer on the front?
Yep.
Yeah.
I bought all of them. I still have them all. And I read all of them cover to cover 18 times. I memorized every stat in the game. I picked Tau because when they would just come out, and I loved the aesthetic and the concepts. I thought they'd be really
Tau
cool.
in 3rd edition were pretty cool compared to the other books. They
Yeah.
they were very retro compared to all the other stuff, which is very contemporary.
Mm-hmm. I was just wondering.
Yep.
So when I got out of high school, I moved in with 3 older guys, and by older I mean they were in their 20s and 30s, and I was basically 19 or so. And when you live with those kind of people, like, one thing you learn about dudes is dudes put shit in their house that they don't give a like. It doesn't matter. There's never been a mother figure or a woman around, like, nothing. Like, their walls were covered in fucking models, right? Like, just shelf after shelf of just models, just in the living room, on the TV, everywhere.
Where else would you put them? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, so what's this about? And I hung out with these guys. I'm like, what's this about? They kind of told me. And this was 2nd edition 40K. I was like, where do you buy them? So I went to it was what is it called? Hobby Shop? Is that what it's called? The Hobby Shop?
The one on Metcalf?
Yeah.
Hobby Haven.
Hobby Haven. It was a Hobby Haven. And they had like maybe 8 boxes, right? And one of them was Space Wolves. And I was like, okay, that's a space guy, right? Like, that's kind of, I saw some shit that looks like that. So I bought a unit of Space Wolves, brought it home, put it together, and spent like weeks trying to paint these fucking things. You ain't got the right paint. You don't got the right stuff. Painted them. Turns out they're like, who gives a shit? Because like back in 2nd edition, every model did 10,000 things, and like it didn't even matter really. Played some games, and from there, you know, that was like what, 1998 or something. Yeah, I know. I'm dating myself.
That's not that old, really. Like, I figured it would have been.
No, that was after I got out of high school.
Earlier for you, really. Yeah.
No, it was right after I got out of high school. So about 98, 99, somewhere in there. And then after that, you know, it's history. I've been in it ever since.
I'm just terrified of the rules that existed for 40K in 98. That's what I was scared of. Like,
2nd edition, dude. That's where vortex
brutal.
grenades existed.
Yeah.
That's where,
you
like,
could call in like air support and shit. Yeah.
It honestly, we would talk about games, and we would have games where you started on a Friday night with like 10 models apiece, and you got halfway through by Sunday evening. Like,
yeah.
It was
it's
stupid
like it was
as
like
shit.
Axis and Allies. Like, it could last forever.
It was a role playing game with models. It really was.
It was a sci-fi role playing game that had models. Yeah.
But yeah, that was my start.
Okay. So were you pretty proud of the first models you painted, or was it very cart before the horse kind of situation?
No. So I didn't know anything about like lining up 20 models and painting them at the time, so each one of them I took forever on, and I've always been kind of an art student, high school,
Okay.
college, whatever. So they all look really good. In fact, they gave a lot of the people shit in the house that I lived at because it was my first time doing it, and they were like,
You had
"Oh
like
my
the best
God."
looking models.
Yeah, like they were like, "Oh my God, this guy's as good as whatever, one of the good guys in the house." And I was like, "If you say so." But that was a whole different type of
Yeah.
painting, right? That was just
Yeah.
completely different.
Okay. So Aaron, do you remember your first tabletop miniatures game?
Yes, Brandon, I do.
Nice.
Early 90s Warhammer Fantasy Battle.
Nice.
Orcs and Goblins were my jam. In fact, I still own all of my old fantasy models. Also played Blood Bowl back then. Did that in the basement with high school buddies for, 6 to 8 years. Went off to college, picked up 40K. I played 3rd Ed Necron and then 5th Ed Space Wolves while I was in Norway. Took about 8 years off to spend time with kids. Yeah, so they can take up a lot of your time. In 2016, I got back into minigaming, and I picked up War Machine. And then ever since then, I've been playing War Machine, Blood Bowl, and then MCP for about the past year.
Nice. I didn't realize you just got back into miniature gaming in 2016. I thought you had been playing more consistently for longer than that.
Nope. Sorry.
Cool. So I want to say a junior in high school when I got into miniatures gaming. I got into 40K. One of the locals at Battle Zone over in Overland Park was bought in, assembled, and painted a lot of his stuff, and decided he didn't like it. So he sold me his used Battle Force of Tau, and I got into that super quick. I started building up my Tau army. I decided to look through the book, and I thought the urban camo Tau looked the coolest, having zero art experience at all.
Oh my God.
And so I was like, it's black and white. How hard could that be? And just like the typical idiot, didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and tried to spray paint them black and paint the white helmets over the top. And I was like, why isn't this covering? This paint is terrible. I feel like 9 coats of white over the top. Oh man, it was so ugly, so hideous. Trying to think now what like the oldest model I have. Anyway, I got pretty quickly heavily into 40K. I jumped into Necrons, then into Space Marines, then into Orcs. Then I moved into Fantasy. We had a local, pretty much our local crew at Battlezone played pretty much every version of Games Workshop games. And so I got into Fantasy. Fantasy was super cool. I started with Tomb Kings. Hated every moment of that. That was terrible. Basically threw all of them away, and then got into Vampire Accounts, which is just good Tomb Kings, I found out. So that was really fun. And then gone through all kinds of stuff since then. So yeah, I've always been a hobby second kind of person and a game first guy. Although I did develop a real enjoyment of modeling about the time I got into Orcs pretty heavily. And so since then I've been very into the building aspect, but not so much on the painting side. I enjoy assembling much more than painting. So moving on, next question. What games have you played? What hobby games have you guys played in the past? So Parker.
So I played the Mech Warriors game, the Clicks, and pretty much anything that was pre-painted, I tried at least once. I tried like a dogfighting game. I tried
What?
There was a dogfighting game.
To clarify, he means like planes.
Yeah, planes. It was
Okay.
It was supposed to be like
game. We did
It's like
cockfighting.
Whoa, pause.
It
That's
was-
the one thing we can't come back from is fighting with dogs.
Well, I played Cock Magic. If you guys know what Cock Magic is, it's when 2 roosters play Magic the Gathering. But no, it's it was it was a dogfighting game with little plastic airplanes. It was on a circular basis. It was another Clicks game, another WizKids game. I tried HeroClix for half a second. I tried actually the D&D made a really bad minis game based on their little figures.
D&D minis, yeah.
Yeah, the D&D minis.
There was a ton of D&D minis.
Yes, I had a lot of them. I had so many.
They basically just took characters from 3.5, did like condensed stat blocks, and then just did pre-painted figures.
Right.
And it was actually a great idea because they were selling them to the role players who were just using them to play D&D with, and they also had like a side game selling D&D minis.
Yeah.
And so it worked pretty well.
Yeah, it was. And then it was nothing but the pre-painted games until War Machine came out, and then I just was hard into War Machine. And I played War Machine in metal because everything in War Machine was metal. I played it not painted in metal for years. I refused to paint anything. I finally painted an army, and then it got stolen out of my car because it looked like it was like a laptop or something.
Yeah.
And so somebody
looked like computer equipment or something.
Yeah, like some sort of equipment bag is what I had it in. And so when that painted stuff got stolen out of my car, I said never again will I paint a thing. I broke that rule later with War Machine. I painted some more stuff, but eventually I had tried every faction in War Machine, and I still sitting on like 3 factions complete, to whenever I stopped playing, which is not all of it. And then War Machine kind of died off, and I picked up X-Wing because it's another pre-painted figures game that everybody was playing, and I played a lot of X-Wing, and then I played a little bit of Monster Apocalypse, which was a nice little sinkhole to throw some money into. And then I played a little bit of the Star Wars Fleet Battle game. I can't remember the name. What was it called? What is it called? It's still around.
Star Wars
Armada. I played a little bit of Armada, but I ended up selling all that. So the only collections I now have of like big size are X-Wing. I still have my collections for them, even though I stopped buying models. All my War Machine factions I've kept. I actually do have one Blood Bowl team. I played it on cardboard like 3 times. I love the video game. I cannot stand it in person. I really don't enjoy it in person. But I still play the video game from time to time. I will just sit down and play it for hours. But I do not know what it is about playing Blood Bowl in person. I do not enjoy it.
I think it's because you have to know the rules and not just understand the concepts.
Yeah.
Because when it does everything for you, it's very easy to just breeze through past stuff you don't actually understand.
Yeah.
But when you have to constantly look shit up, it really slows it down.
Yeah. And now MCP. So I've played almost everything that was pre-painted ever I've tried. I think at least once. And then a few notable hobby games.
Jeremy, give us the list.
The list of games. Oh my. So yeah, I started with 40K. Jumped into that in 2nd edition. Played all of that. I've played all of Fantasy. I'm kind of a completionist, and I'm kind of ADHD. Like, I see something and I find it interesting for whatever reason, and I'll pick all that up. So I did that, went back and forth between an edition where it's one of those where like the internet broke what 5th edition was going to be, a 40K, but nobody had it yet, and I'm like, fuck that. I'm not playing rules that aren't real. So I ended up going to Privateer Press and playing War Machine and Hordes for a long time. Had a bunch of that. Played Monster Apocalypse. I mean, whatever the good game is that people are playing, right? So, like, I've told people, those people that collect every board game in the world, but they have no friends to play with? Mm-hmm. The idea is kind of, and I think you do this too, Brandon. It's like, whatever the good game is people are playing, you play it, right? Like, you kind of shift. Like, it's got to be, if nobody's playing the best fucking game, then you don't play it. So,
wow, this is gonna be an awkward conversation.
Well, whatever. But I've seen your store carry many things that are different every time you decide to change. So,
I'm very much the opposite. I will not just play stuff because other people are playing it.
But it has to be a good game. I did say that. That's the caveat.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. But like, I work in the shadows really hard to make sure the game I want to play is the game that everyone wants to play.
Well, sure, and you and
so
I are exactly...
I will sow the seeds months in advance to adjust people's opinions to the games I want to play.
And we very much are in the same... We do exactly the same thing. Like, if I want people to play it, I do the same thing. I'll build communities.
I work really hard to make sure the game that everyone plays is the game I want to play. That's all I'm
Correct.
saying. Like,
just happens we line
that
up.
Shit.
It just happens we line up.
I snuff that shit out in advance.
Yeah.
People are like, I want to play this new like Infinity game. I'm like, that game's trash. It'll give you cancer. Like,
I don't doubt it. Oh my. Okay, that's extreme. But yeah, man, I played about everything.
Yeah.
It's my character. That's what I got.
That's cool. Aaron.
So I got one funny story. I was dating a beautiful woman in college. She would come over and we'd play Blood Bowl. and maybe some Hero Quest, all the games that were available in the 90s and whatnot. And I thought, you know what? I could see myself growing old with this woman. This sounds like an awesome life. So I proposed. She accepted. We moved overseas. I brought out the Blood Bowl. She's like, well, what are you doing? I was like, we're going to play. She's like, no, we're not. Apparently, there's some things you do when you're dating someone you don't do when you're married. So
It's
that
fact.
was a shock.
You got set up, yo.
It was all a ploy to get the ring.
Clearly.
That really
So-
happened? She just quit playing as soon as you were married? That's amazing.
Yes, more or less.
I believe she just plays the board games now.
Yes, she likes games that don't require open-ended options. She likes A, B, or C. So we play a lot of board games in our house. But in terms of hobby games, not so much. I got my son into MCP recently, so that's been pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But Fantasy Battle, War Machine, and then Blood Bowl and MCP. That's about it as far as hobby for me.
Cool. I thought I was going to have the shortest list, but I guess not. So I got in, first game was 40K, transitioned into fantasy pretty soon after that. Pretty much just played those for a decent stretch of like my high school, college era. Got into War Machine a bit after that. I can't even remember. Why did I get into... Oh, that's right. I got into Black Box War Machine like the month it came out. Played 2 games, and then one of our crew that used to play 40K with us got in, and he started using the field test for Hordes to play Trollbloods. And we were like, how is this fair? Like
Yeah.
It might have been leftover. Like we put the War Machine away. Like we played some black box games, put the War Machine away. Came back to it like a couple years later, and he was doing the like printed out rules for Hordes. And we were like, you can heal your aspects and you can force all this fury. And he was demolishing us in these mangled metal games. And we were like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And just immediately quit the game. Like everybody playing War Machine quit because that guy was just noob stomping people with the Hordes playtest stuff. And I was like, this is dumb. So then it was another couple years before I got back into War Machine. In between that, I played pretty much all the Firestorm games. Which I believe is now Spartan Games. It was the Uncharted Seas naval game, the Firestorm Armada space battles game, which is basically the exact same rules. I bought into the Dystopian Wars, which is like the final version of the game they made, but I don't think we ever really played it. War Machine, Monster Apocalypse, and Marvel. That's probably it, honestly. I played Blood Bowl as well. I have, I think 4 or 5 teams for Blood Bowl. I go through weird phases with Blood Bowl, and I was really happy that I could just always come back to it, but now they're changing the rules, so that maybe not.
So I realized as we've been talking that I think I left off no less than 15 different games from my list.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, am I strange? I feel like your guys' lists,
You
around
seem to bounce around
10.
a lot.
I was going to say,
think
I have played so many games as I was thinking about it, and almost most of them are pre-painted, but
Mhm.
there's so many that I have tried at least once.
I think you're always looking for the right game, right?
Yeah.
Like, were you in those games and you're like happy with it for a long time, or did you like, this
No.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I would go into one game and buy like one faction or like a battle box or something. The only ones I could say I ever collected was Mech Warrior, War Machine, and now MCP. The others were I had little pieces, but I had the Hero Clicks. There was a game that came out a long time ago. It was called like something of the Seas. You guys don't remember this? It was printed on plastic, like stock, and you punched
Yeah.
it out and assembled it.
It's like Pirates of the Crimson Coast or something
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh, well done. I think
Yeah.
it's exactly it.
They came with those super fucking tiny D6s in the booster
Uh-huh.
packs.
Yeah.
This was actually a really fun game.
It was
So
fun.
you'd open a booster pack and it would be these plastic cards that were laser or stamped cut, and you would punch out and assemble these little 3D model pirate ships. And then each
I
booster
remember
pack
that.
also came with some cards. And so you get like a captain card, you get like a special like ship card, and then some crew members. And so you would basically build a tabletop miniatures game out of these booster packs. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the game died because they massively underestimated the success of the game. It came out and sold out worldwide in like 2 days. And they couldn't get more
Oh.
printed for like 8 months. And so by the time they had more printed, everybody already forgotten about it, and they'd like missed their chance. It was really sad. Also, the game was not well balanced, but it was super fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a blast. But that kind of stuff, I've always tried that kind of stuff. I think I played a Wild West game for a while. I know I played like a Malifaux precursor. Can't remember the name of it. Like
it might have been Malifaux. Malifaux's had a few different forms.
Oh, maybe it was.
There was
like
that
I remember
Wild West one that came out that kind of died.
Wild West Exodus.
Yeah, that died on the vine.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, a couple of our locals really wanted that game to.
They went in
though.
hard.
Yeah,
they went in so hard.
Yeah, but I've just realized, just thinking about it, like how if I went back into my game closet, I bet I'd find all kind of weird. I buy game systems like miniatures games, like you guys buy board games. I own like 2 board games. I don't care about board games, but I will sample, like you guys sample board games. I sample minis games.
I'm not a big board game guy. I'm very against board games in general. There's a select few I will play.
I'm sorry, let me speak specifically to the Jeremy in the audience then, because
that's true.
Aaron, me and Aaron have a ton of board games.
Yeah,
I also have a shit.
I get it. I understand it. It's just not for me. It's not my take. All right, so now we're going to enter the lightning round. In this round, we'll go in the same order, and we'll all say our favorite of whatever the item is. And if you can't think of one in 5 seconds, just say the first one that comes to your head.
okay.
These are all going to be Marvel Crisis Protocol related. I'll go first. That way it's fair. And we're going to go around. The first one's going to be favorite character in the game. Magneto. Parker.
Baron Zemo.
Thanos.
Shadowlands.
Shadowlands. Daredevil.
Ah,
What?
The Shadowlands.
the new
It's like
hotness. Get out of
the
here.
concept of
Shadowlands.
Shadowlands.
Well, he doesn't want to just say Daredevil because
Right.
he might get confused with the Daredevil one.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Moving on. Next up is going to be Affiliation Brotherhood.
My turn, right?
Yes, that is the order we go in every time.
Guardians.
X-Men.
Asgard.
Nice. Team Tactics card. Cosmic Invigoration.
Flicking on the name. Rocket's card. What's Rocket's card?
Deadly Duo.
Deadly Duo.
What's the one where two models can go?
Follow Me.
Follow Me. I love Follow Me.
Fallback.
That's your favorite card?
He's
You're,
douchey like that.
fucking
It has a
boring,
It has a special place in my heart.
boring milk toast, fucking eating white bread for breakfast, motherfucker.
Wow.
Moving on.
Wow.
Favorite Crisis researcher.
I'm looking. I'm trying to figure out which one's the
You guys not know the names. Demons Downtown.
No, I'm looking for the
D
secure.
deployment.
The secure on D. There's 2 of them.
Extremis.
Uh,
Extremis is the heal one.
yeah,
The
Extremis.
other one is
Extremis.
Portals.
Extremis.
Yeah, Extremis.
Madman. It's fucking fair.
Madman is fun. I like Madman. Researcher's even more fair.
No,
There's
it's
no
not.
You just stand in the middle and die.
No.
If I
Sword-
die, I die. Sword? God.
Oh, yeah,
damn-
sword.
You're a devil.
I
Only
hate
you are seriously
everything about
just
every single
evil.
thing you said. I disagree with. Aaron.
He is the most evil of the cast.
I love it because it tilts people so much.
It is so stupid.
I mean, I don't like playing it, but if I have to pick one, oh yeah,
You're the worst.
I know.
Ugh. Okay, well that was the lightning round. You get a little bit of an insight in about person's soul with the lightning round. Aaron is a terrible human. I like having fun, and Jeremy is crazy.
It's fine. I have a question.
What's up?
Throw into this little mix here. It kind of goes with all the things we've been talking about, and I wonder this all of the time. What is it that like you work in a game store, Brandon? This doesn't really. It's different.
2 of us work in a game store. Sir.
That's true. But like, okay,
Go ahead.
I work in a building that has, I don't know, 80 employees, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
I have found that from the last 25 years of my life, I've played tabletop games with like a passion. Like they're very important to me. I enjoy them. Like very important to me. I can mention it to any one of my employees and they have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What is like, how is that 1% of 1%? Like, how is that? Like, why is that? Like, what drives
it has a lot to do. Like you're saying, like why do not that many people know about it?
Yeah, or is it that different? Is it that weird?
It is a lot to do, and I'm not saying this with any kind of connotation or
No,
anything. But it's
I'm
like
I'm curious.
your social class, almost like where you fall in the like, not poverty line or anything, but just like, are you a person who has expendable income?
Mhm.
And that tends to be a certain group of the community. And the other exception is they got you young. That's the other exception. Like,
True.
it was exposed to you in high school. And again, the schools that tend to have like 40K clubs tend to be in fairly well off suburb areas. And so those are like the two groups that is most prevalent in is people that have expendable income and expendable time, which is a lot of single adults that have decent paying jobs. And then people that have been into nerd culture in general since they were very young. Those are like the two class. And this, if you go to the store, you can almost see it. Like these are the people that have like high paying IT jobs. And then these are the people that have been playing since high school.
It is funny, Jeremy, I will say this, that for some reason, you can tell anyone in America, just say the words Magic the Gathering, and
Yeah.
everyone can conjure an image of what that is. But if
Yes.
you tell any of them, even like Warhammer 40K, I have never met as a professional another person who knew what that was, other than someone who I already knew plays at the Geekery,
Yeah.
right? Like, so I think there's
Point of order.
there's some sort of I agree with you, Jeremy. There is some sort of like cultural barrier that miniatures games have never crossed to make it something the mainstream can recognize, not appreciate. A lot of people, when I describe it, they go, "That sounds fun." It's not that they don't think it could be fun. It's just that it's like you say, the ignorance. It's an incredible ignorance that it even exists. Yeah.
I'm gonna say because it's like the one thing for a long time that didn't cross the like internet highway. Like, I think a lot more people know about Warhammer, and you just let miniature games aside, Warhammer specifically, than know about a lot of stuff. But it's just not something that is put into any non-gaming culture areas. Like even Dungeons and Dragons got famous because of they thought it was a satanic cult, right?
That's
like,
true.
And so because of that, everyone in the world, basically, that is connected to the internet, knows what Dungeons and Dragons is and understands what role-playing games are. Because they had that explosion online.
Well, I don't think you needed an online explosion. Dungeons and Dragons was a satanic cult in the 80s and the 90s. Like,
sure, but you can play Dungeons and Dragons online. You can't until very recently. You haven't been able to play miniatures games online. And so because of that, regular people don't get exposed to it.
I will actually say this is really weird. The business model of a miniatures game store is extremely foreign to people. Like, I remember the very first time I explained to my wife, like, you go to the store, you buy the product from that store, and then they also allow you to come back with that product and just use it in their store. And she's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of like a library where you pay for the books but must also read them back at the library." And she's like, "That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard of as like a business model." I go, "Yes."
A library is actually a very good representation of that. Even a bookstore in general, because bookstores generally have places for you to like sit down and read.
True. They're encouraging you to use the products, but and they do have things like book clubs in bookstores and in libraries. Like, I get that is a good analogy, but that is the best. That's the only way I could help her understand.
There's nothing similar. Yeah. You can't like go to Walmart and then come back and try out your fishing gear. Like, that's not a thing. Like,
yeah, it's really, but because like it is a storefront. When you drive by it, it looks like a place you buy anything and leave with it and use it at your leisure.
And you could explain why it is
center.
The way it is in like a small setting, but like abstractly just viewing it, it does seem odd. And I have to explain this to regular people walking by the store all the time.
Yes. And that kind of.
But why do you have all this space? It's like so people can come and play their games. Like,
right.
Why?
Yes.
Like because if they don't have a place to play, they won't buy it, idiot.
But the fact that is
it's odd.
Yeah, the fact that it is so foreign to so many people is one of the things is that what you're kind of getting at, Jeremy? That that people have no context for this. It's kind of strange.
It's
they
not
have
only the
none.
no. It's not only the
I think
no
it's just the
context.
concept of you like spending your time this way.
And also, like, I've run into lots of people who play board games, and you can always kind of hook them, right? There's the low level board games, the middle bit, whatever. You can always get people interested into whatever when it comes to board games. Almost always. Some people are just kind of they're not interested at all, but for the most part, you can hang out with the crowd and be like, okay, we have board game night, all that. But then I'll bust out these other games, and I'm like, oh, this is a tabletop, this is a war game, and this is basically kind of what we're doing, and I'll show you the dice, and they're like, okay, cool, I guess. And I'm like, yeah, and you put them together, and like, okay, and they just don't even get excited. Like, it's something that, like, I think it is. I think it's either you were young, or there's some other thing. Like, I just, it's so weird to me. I think it's the coolest shit ever, and I just don't get it.
Yeah. It's just a different animal, because I can show you like the statistics on it, and it's like a person that plays miniature games for 2 years. Like if you can convince somebody to play the game for 2 years and not quit, they will probably play miniature games for their entire lives.
I can see that.
But like if they get in for 6 months, maybe a year, there's a decent chance they'll fall out of it. But like it seems to be like there's this tipping point where if you stay in for 2 years, it's the premier source of your gaming entertainment for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I would actually, I don't know. I'm sure there's a stat on this. I'm sure Golf Club Owners of America has a good stat on this. I feel like there's got to be, like the 1,000th hour of practice or whatever it is, the amount of time that you buy into almost any hobby or activity that you would reach that tipping point. But I actually wanted to talk about one demographic. You're talking about things that tie gamers together outside of the gamer room. I have met so many post-military folks who are into miniatures gaming specifically. When you go into a room and you ask everybody who's playing at the tournament, what do they do? I have noticed that I will get a unusual portion that has been in the military. Now, maybe it's because most of it's guys, and if you just sample a room full of guys in America, there's a good chance you'll get a certain number of people in the military. So it could just be, coincidence, not causality. But Aaron,
I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's exceedingly high, even for coincidence.
Aaron, I wanted to know if you've seen that. If when you're in, because you come from a military background, did you notice that there were guys in the military, or could you expect more people to know what a minis game was if you went to a room full of vets? Is that something you could expect?
Specifically 40K, yes.
Really?
So, the town I live in, there's one game store. It doesn't have a lot of actual game space, but they actually opened up a second game store on base. Specifically catering to, yeah.
Wow.
Like it just in the shopping center that they have. It wasn't a huge standalone building, but they just rented some space because that is college kids and military. In fact, it was really, really weird. I had to hide my rank when I went to go play.
Oh, so they didn't. That's funny.
That is funny.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I do agree.
Nobody wants to play with Boss Man.
They couldn't. It's illegal.
Yeah.
So if they knew who I was, they couldn't. It would be really weird based on fraternization rules in the Air Force. In fact, I went and I had my out processing when I was getting ready to leave the Air Force, and I walked in. One of the guys that I've been playing with a long time in San Antonio, his jaw just hit the floor when he saw me walk into the out processing room with him.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a different world.
Yeah, it is. I don't want to say it's like 25% almost of like military background.
Of the people you see at the game store?
Of people over 30 that play games.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think that is? Is it just because the military has reached kind of a critical mass? There are so many people who already know about it that now it's
like
proliferated.
A diagram, there's a pretty heavy overlap between people that would sign up for the military and people that like battle games. Like, I think it just makes sense.
Interesting.
Well, all I know is running around the country, following my ex's career, there was always something for me wherever I landed. Like there was a group of people and like that were doing what I do, and all of a sudden I have my new best friends. you know,
Yeah, it's really fun in that like social club
yeah.
experience.
And luckily, I also have played golf the whole time. So I had those group of people too, but it wasn't the same. Like golf, they'll pair you up and you're like, cool, whatever. I'll get your number. Maybe we'll play again. But so many folks like that do those things, they end up with like no friends ever. And it's like, who's your friends? My wife's friends, people I work with or whatever. That lifestyle I just have never got. Like I just don't, I don't do that. It's just so different and weird. Like I'm like, I have my friends that do things I like to do, not because we're just close together.
That is
I don't know.
that is interesting.
I've spent an absorbent amount of my life in a game store. Like, just the percentage has got to be like absolutely ridiculous. And I didn't go into a game store until I was, I want to say 14 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Collector's Cash, was the first game store I ever went to. And I played Yu-Gi-Oh! There for a few years. And then that's when I transitioned to Battlezone when I was about 16. But I only went there like once, maybe twice a month, I want to say. But when I got to Battlezone, it really became I am part of the game community. I'm going to be here whenever I'm free. Like, Battlezone was crazy back in the day. Like, people talk about 31st Century being like a frat house. That store literally didn't close on the weekends. And it wasn't because the employees stayed all night. They would leave, and then they would just let the customers run the store overnight, basically. And it wasn't like they had a separate room for gaming. They would just leave the front door propped open for 90 hours on end. And there would just be people there the whole time.
Yeah, the fact
it was crazy.
The fact that customers like have a certain access to property without the business owners around is another one of those strange things that's so common in miniatures gaming and completely impossible. Like
it's
unfathomable.
Almost like those small town bars where you're like, oh, that's just Ronnie, he's fine, and you're like, but just because he's been drinking here for 30 years, like he would never do anything. Like it's just like you get that camaraderie because you spend your social time together.
So in addition to just being the 1% of the population that does this stuff, like there's also like I started playing Magic in high school, and I started traveling like to other places to play almost immediately. What other shit does people do, like aside from maybe following a sports like a band? I don't know.
Sports teams do that. Like people will go travel for sports events and stuff. People will travel for paintball. There's actually a lot of hobbies, but very few non-physical hobbies that you would travel for.
Yeah, I mean, I did paintball for a while too. That's true. And paintball was cool because you got to hook up with like your friends and stuff all the time and spend a lot of time.
I was going to say
it had toys.
I think the very first. Go ahead, Jeremy. You finish your thought.
I was just saying, like, just the idea of competitive traveling and doing things and like never giving it up. Like, you know, I now in my life I know people like of my age have kids that will travel and do things with sports. Like I see that a lot, but they'll travel for their kids' sake and all of that. But when I tell people kind of what I'm doing, they have no, like, it just blows their mind. Like, you're doing what for who? Why? Like a weekend doing what? I'm like, what do you fucking do with your weekends? What are you talking about?
Dude,
like,
can't even,
they don't do shit.
I've been in it for so long, I can't even comprehend what to do with myself if I didn't play games. Like, I was like, what would I do? I would just die in my house, like, alone. Like,
just stare at the wall?
Yeah.
Start working for a game store part-time?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Parker, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I remember I only played, like, at my local game store for a long, long time. And not because I was scared to go anywhere else. I didn't even know people traveled for stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
how was Hometown your first game store?
Yeah, Hometown Games in Lawrence.
And how long were you exclusively like playing at Hometown?
I think it was like 3 years, maybe even 4 years.
Only 3? I thought it was longer than that.
I think it's 4. I remember the very first time I ever left to play War Machine.
Your cardboard
Hometown
box
was
shit.
basically like a walk-in closet that sold games. Like that was the smallest game store I have ever seen. They had to have less than 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
It was absurdly small.
Oh, I do take it back. Lord of the Rings, Legend of the Five Rings. I did go to a Kote, which was their like big events. I did go to one of those. I think it was like in Nebraska or something like that, and that was the very first time I ever traveled outside to do something. it blew my mind. I got to meet people that made the game
Mhm.
and talk to some of the fiction writers, and the concept of traveling around, that was the first time. And after that, when I came back and I went to a War Machine tournament in Kansas City, and that was the first time I realized what a small pond I was in, and like the
Yeah.
concept of small pond. I won one
Because
game at the tournament, but
yeah, if you're visualizing every other game store is like your tiny hole in the wall place,
mhm.
why would you travel? Because it's like there's nothing big going on out there.
Right.
But like this was like back before gaming was like a big deal on the internet. Like
there was
obviously
no
video
connection.
gaming was.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of connectivity on the internet.
There was no community. There was no
Yeah.
social media really. Like it was just like you could go to like Daka and check the forums,
Mhm.
but like what are the odds a game store is going to post, "Hey, we exist here"? Like you would look up in the phone book to see if there was a game store. You wouldn't
Yeah.
like go search it online.
Yeah.
It was just a different time.
I actually credit Jeremy with getting me into like competitive stuff, because when I started coming to
welcome.
tabletop, that was the very first time anybody asked me to like the first time I remember you asked me like, I want you to play as hard as you can. I want you to try to beat me, but I'm not going to let you do take backsies. This is not casual. And I was like, fucking A, like let's do like
God,
yes.
this old guy at the store is so mean.
Yeah, I was so excited. It was like because people at that's not.
You're so used to like people want you to go easy, like they
Yeah.
don't want to try and they're not playing competitively.
No, they wanted
casual,
to do beer and pretzel stuff, and that was my little pond. Is a lot of guys who wanted to do beer and pretzels, and that was and that was fun for them. But I loved the very first time I got in a competitive crowd, and they were really excited to get really good at the game. I loved coming to tabletop, and that was it. That was like
Also,
I was out.
depending on what game you come from, like 40K, it was very like bad manners to try and like bring a try hard list. Like back in the day, it was like, well, look at you, you're taking like 3 heavy support choices. Of course you won. It was like this attitude against people who were trying to win because it was like a social setting. It was more like we are going to just play casual golf. Like nobody's trying to like bet money, and then you have that one guy in the corner like, let's do this. You're like, calm down, Jerry. We need to take it easy.
I got comp scored out of several wins.
Oh yeah,
40K.
like the concept
scored
of a
straight out.
composition score at a tournament just blows my mind. I'm like, are you an
Wait,
idiot? Like, what are you doing?
What is this? I don't know
Composition
what this
score.
is.
You would rate your opponent based on how competitive their list was, and so you basically say bad manners for bringing this tryhard list. It's a 1 to 5 score. I'm going to give you a 1, and so at the end of the tournament, you add up wins, comp score, and painting score to figure out who wins. And so the guy who wins might have gotten 1 win. It was just a different environment.
Wow, right? That blows my mind.
And so comp score has transitioned into sportsmanship now, where it's, okay, well, as long as you're not a dick, like, you're fine.
Yeah.
But it used to be, like, if you took, like, 3 basilisks as a Imperial Guard player, 1s all day. You get 1s all day. Because people didn't want to play against it. It wasn't fun.
It literally would be a 2-day tournament, and I did this more than once. It'd be a 2-day tournament. You'd play like 7 or 8 games. I would lose 1 game, and I'd take like 35th place because of my comp score. It was crazy. 40K was
Parker's
crazy.
trying to wrap his head around
that. You can't. Like,
yeah,
it's
so
insane.
Stupid.
So now I understand. I remember some of this 40K guys when we started War Machine. They were so excited about play like you got a pair. Right? They were so excited about that. They were
He's
so
took the
excited.
training wheels off. We get to take swings at each other. It's
right.
like it was literally like sparring. Like games at the game night was sparring. We're here to try and make sure both people have like a fair game, but it's like, but that's because their opponents don't want to try or like don't want to buy new units. It was so weird. And I get it, like people don't want to play against the cheesiest lists every time. But that's just because the game they were used to had such horrible imbalance that, like, if you just played these units, you would win.
Now,
but everyone would hate.
Now I understand. Now I understand what you always talked about with like it being a beer and pretzels game. Yeah. I didn't understand how they actually baked it into the competitive rule set. That's
even
crazy.
Then, even with the comp scores, a lot of players would never come to tournaments because they said even with the comp scores, it wouldn't keep those lists out of it. I was like, okay.
So that's what was always awesome. Like when I was playing 40K, that would happen, and it was just like this bullshit. And then we learned about Privateer Press and that whole like you would play until there was a winner, dude. Yeah. That
it was crazy.
Nailed exactly what like we were doing at the time. It was in Syracuse at the time, And the guys up there, like, that was the note that we needed to go crazy. Like, that was blood in the water. Like, who could be the very best?
And then you start grinding games.
Oh,
like,
man.
You're just like, we're going to be the best. Like, oh, man.
And then everybody else, you know, like the folks that didn't like care for that, you had 40K. And then we had, you know, War Machine. So it's cool. There's something
this
for
is
everybody.
what built the huge like animosity between the two games. Like there's 40K and War Machine had like a 10-year animosity where it's like, oh, you're a War Machine player. I'm not going to play with you. And you're like, what? Like, it's so crazy.
Aaron, could you play that game? Could you play a game where competitiveness was a score that could ruin your tournament?
Not competitively. How about that?
Okay.
So
I think Aaron would be totally fine playing it if the understanding was we're playing casually. I don't think that'd be a problem.
I wouldn't take the game seriously and go to a tournament for it, probably.
Yeah.
Like Blood Bowl has sportsmanship award every time, and it has become a pet peeve of mine. Sportsmanship should be an expectation, not an award.
Yes. It should
And
be a penalty for worst sport, not a prize for best sport.
It always goes to someone who got beat down and didn't bitch about their dice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I could have been the best sport in the world, you know, gone 3-1. There's a 0% chance that person is going to win the award. It is useless. So I strongly dislike the concept. No, not the concept. The execution of sportsmanship awards in today's gaming meta, specifically Blood Bowl, but I've seen it elsewhere.
Yeah, it becomes a pity prize.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In 40K, you would actually, and you probably still have to do this somewhat at a big tournament. Man, you really painted those models nice. I like those a lot.
No, yeah, you'd basically have, if you didn't buy your opponent a beer, you don't get full comp.
Yeah, you're fucked. Like,
or full sportsmanship.
It was so crazy.
This is still a thing at some large tournaments.
Is it?
Like, you literally have to go buy your opponent a beer if you want to get maxed out sportsmanship. And it's not everywhere, but man, it is like, really? It's like, what if you don't drink and you're just buying people beer all day? Like, oh my god. Like, the understanding is we're going to walk up to the bar, we're each going to buy the other person a drink, we're going to go back to our table, and only say compliments the whole time. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, they used to, like, it got so bad, and people used to say that people didn't tank the score results, because people would, like, try and hide what they gave you.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The problem was, like, they're super tryhards there to win, too, and so, like, they're giving you the dog balls, is what they call it. They'd zero you out on sportsmanship.
Dog balls?
They called it the dog balls. They'd give you dog balls. And not say, and there was no problems. Like, you had 0 events in your game. You were a nice person. Your stuff's fairly well painted, but they zero you out because it increases their odds of winning.
Mm-hmm.
And they were these two-faced sons of bitches that would do that. It got so bad that they had to have the judges, like, audit the results. And it's like, well, your opponent gave you 2 5s, and you gave him 2 0s. So what the fuck happened? And he's like, oh, he was really rude. And you're like, but this is after the fact, like after you've turned in your sheets. And you're like, so then you, like, he has to go up and ask your opponent, like, hey, did you guys have any problems during the game? And you're like, no. Why? He's like, oh, he gave you 0s. So I was just curious. He's like, why'd that motherfucker give? It was just this whole drama fest, which is why you cannot let people competing have a subjective score total they give to the people they're competing against. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Ding.
That's like, oh man, the Chicago Bulls only gave the Detroit Pistons a 1 on sportsmanship this week, so they didn't win the championship. Like, are you fucking serious? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, how did this become a thing? And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, your opponents would even tell you what they gave you. So then you would tell them, you'd go,
like,
I gave you 10.
I thought you were great. I'm giving you 2 5s. Giving you 2 5s, buddy. He's like, so it's like they want to know what you're giving them.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
It's like, oh, I gave you 1s. And he's like, oh, well, I'm going to change these. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? And so, but you're also playing like 3 to 5 rounds of a tournament that should go 10 rounds. And so you're not playing the necessarily people in your bracket, right?
No.
So let's say if you had the potential to get in the top 3. Well, you're just going to play 5 people. And after 5 rounds of everyone playing random pairings, who the fuck knows if you've even played anybody that would have placed in the top 50, but we're rating you against only those opponents. And so it's like, it's so insane to me that they call it a tournament. It should just be like a great event or something. Like the concept of going to those events and getting those experiences is amazing. But the fact that people are like trying to win and you lose to somebody you never played against, like, that doesn't even make sense to me. But the problem with like why these like sportsmanship things came about was like from the old school of gamers that were like playing like basically historicals and stuff, moving into 40K, thinking that the games were like unfriendly or unbalanced. It was basically like anti-new crew. We want the older gamers to have a better control over who's winning the events and stuff. And it was just this really weird, like ancient logic behind it. It's really odd. Needless to say, I'm not a fan of it. Like, but oh my god, it's so abstract.
All right, I have another question. Unless you do, Brandon.
Go.
All right. We obviously travel. That we do. And there's always the first time you went to a big event, and it kind of like changes you, right? So, what was your event, and kind of like what did it seal for you? Like I know
100% the first time I went to Adepticon.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
When was that? I want to say it was like 2012. I can tell you what year it was if I went through their photo catalog, because I was invited to be on a team from St. Joe that was part of Ryan's crew, and they had gone like 5 years in a row, and they were really into competing for like best like Xenos, best Heritage, like the big painting display like awards for the team tournament. Because the team tournament at Adepticon, if you've never been, is crazy. They do like an armies on parade thing. They do a 4-person team tournament, and you put all your armies on one display board basically, and it show it off. There's always some really cool stuff. People work on this stuff for like 18, 24 months in advance. They'll work on these display boards, and they're really cool. So Ryan and his buddy Mike, I think his name's Mike? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Mike. I only met him like 5 times. They were doing the Siege of Terra, and so they built the giant fortification wall. They had all these different Reaver and Warhound Titans. Every legion that was at the Siege of Terra was represented on the table. There was a giant subterranean cutaway along the side where there was like the Emperor on his teleportation pad with his retinue of Custodes. This is before Custodes were models, by the way. This is 2012. So he had commissioned an artist to actually physically sculpt out of green stuff Custodian Guard for him based on the artwork. And he had painted them up as his like Grey Knight Terminators. And I want to say like Drago was his emperor or something, and so he's like all these counts as Custode models. It was a beautiful when they painted these models. They were painting this display for like 12 months before the event happened. And so it's me, my roommate Ben filled in for one of the people that bailed last minute. I got to play on the team. I played the Blood Angels. Ben played the White Scars. Grey Knights was played by Ryan, and then Imperial Fist was played by Mike. And so we all played in the tournament. It was a super good time. We didn't even try and win our games because we were only there trying to win best Imperial. We ended up winning best display overall. I still have that plaque on my wall behind me on my paint table. It was super fun. I'd never been to a convention before. It left a lasting impression. I have not missed an Adepticon since.
Cool.
Very, very cool.
Parker.
War Machine Weekend. The very first War Machine Weekend I ever went to was that was the first time I had ever gone somewhere and just played games non-stop. Like I slept and ate minimally. The only times I wasn't playing games, I was hanging out with the people who were making the games. Like I met everybody who produced War Machine. Dallas, the guy who's on all the painting streams for MCP.
Yeah, Dallas is great.
He and I were on a first name basis after War Machine Weekend. I just sat, and I hate modeling, and I told him that in like the first 5 minutes, and instead of saying, it's not everybody's thing, he was like, no, I bet you'd love it. And so he like immediately wants to show me all this stuff, and he was so like that was, and then. Jeremy, you were one of the only people I knew from Kansas City there at the time. Well, and so you introduced me to John, and I can't remember the other friend that you had from Syracuse, who I've seen at least one other con, but and you guys were playing so many. Zach, yeah, you guys were playing so many board games. So when you weren't playing War Machine, you were playing board games, and you invited me to play with you guys. I remember on the way back from that weekend, I was like, that is the best time. I met so many people. And I remember like we were sitting with Carl, sitting with DC, and he was just telling us about things he was excited about happening in the game. And I remember sitting there just like, I can't believe I'm here talking to the people. Like I read your books. I've read your fluff so many times, and you're just telling me about things you're going to be excited to do next in the universe. I was completely blown away by like the transparency and the excitement, and I was just and it was all about War Machine. Like some people were doing it, to get wasted. Some people were doing it to get away
Yes,
from.
they are.
Yeah, some people are doing it to get away from their jobs. Some people are doing it to win like a really really big tournament. And I did go to the big shows. I got the only major award I ever got there, which was Hardcore. Remember Hardcore? I got Executioner at Hardcore. I killed more models than anybody else at the big ass Hardcore tournament. My first one was Vanquisher. I got the Vanquisher medal. That's like my favorite medal I ever got. Is I didn't win, but I played Kador and I killed everything I touched. It was so much fun. So like that was. I came back. I don't think I've ever been so satisfied by a weekend in my entire life than that first War Machine weekend.
Was that the 2 pizza night where we had the pizzas 2 times in a row?
Yeah, that sounds right. Like we like that. Like I don't remember.
Wait, that was Chicago. That was different.
Yeah,
that was different.
Chicago was the deep dish pizzas.
We went to deep dish 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
We were like, "Where are we going for dinner?" Like we didn't even ask. We just got in the car and started driving.
That was a good decision. I still stand by that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We had Lou Malnati's for the first time ever.
Lou Malnati's.
All the next day we were raving about how good it was. And we were like, and I'm pretty sure we just like, "Are you guys ready for dinner?" You're like, "Yeah, let's go." And we just got in the car and nobody mentioned where we were going. Yeah. Because we just drove right back to the fucking restaurant, ate another deep dish pizza the next day.
Yeah.
So good.
I don't remember like I don't remember anything about that War Machine weekend like that. Like we were seeing, I saw none of the community. I saw none of like what was around me. I didn't get to experience St. Louis. It was just the hotel and the people in it and playing games. Most of them War Machine, but also just everything else.
Yeah.
I think maybe I was in my room for a grand total of like 8 hours over those 4 days. I was.
You did it right.
It was so good. Yeah, it was fantastic. I've never had exactly that experience again. Not that I need to every time, because I love going to cons, but I've never had that kind of. I think you only get that once, the very first one. It was a good question, by the way, Jeremy. I like that question.
Aaron, you got the experience? Got
Sure.
that?
So again, I started kind of late in life. 2016 was when I really picked up competitive gaming. The first con I ever went was War Games Con. Can you guess the city?
Texas.
It is Texas. That's a state, not a city.
Austin?
Are you sure?
Yes, you're right. War Games Con in Austin. Relatively small con, but still in a hotel. The first one I really remember, so that was 2017 for War Machine.
Yeah.
And
I really count big cons, but anything that really leaves a lasting mark is important.
LVO 2018 was really the lasting mark because that was the first really big con. Went for War Machine, and I'm kind of like Parker. Like I may have had a drink, but I was not there to get blitzed. Like I was there to play, and so what I did from as soon as the hall opened until it closed. I mean, no breaks for food. Just bring an energy bar, scarf down some water, and play for like 14 straight hours, and I had a blast. And ever since then, a couple other things, but LVO 2018. That's where it started for me.
It sounds like the first convention we're all going to be at is going to be LVO this year.
Mm-hmm.
All of us? Yeah, probably.
All 4 of us, yeah.
I think I'm doing War Machine Weekend, which is before that.
Warfare.
Whatever it is these days.
Is
Warfare?
I doubt Parker's going to that. It's called Warfare now.
No, but I thought, because LVO's in January, I thought.
Yeah, are you going, Parker?
To Warfare?
Yeah.
Since I'm going to LVO, probably not Warfare.
Okay, that's because that was really the line. I'm probably going to end up going to Warfare.
I just want to get games.
I will definitely be there.
So I started.
What's yours? Oh, okay, yeah.
With I went to some GTs just randomly, but at that time it was just business. It seemed like right. Like
I'd gone to Ard Boys regionals and stuff, but never.
So I went to the GT's business, but then I went to Syracuse, and we started getting serious about it. And we're like, what, let's travel. Let's go to TempleCon, whatever that is. It sounds pretty cool. Jesus Christ, that back in the day, because it's not at the same place and it's not the same thing it used to be. it's in this crazy ass hotel that's kind of gothic-y, and it was a 24-hour, 4-day in a row event. I fucking lost track of the days and time because the restaurants there had specials you could order at fucking 2 a.m. that were cheap. So, like, me and my friends lost straight up track of time. We were playing in tournaments at 3 a.m. while in the background, because TempleCon was like a gothic-y thing too. It was like role-playing and weird shit. So I remember playing a game, and there was Tool playing in the background, super loud. And I'm looking over my opponent's shoulder, and this girl is wearing basically a corset, a tiny like thing that's like a bra, but like mostly in black, on stilts, dancing to Tool on some stage with a bunch of fucking weird ass gothic-y metal. Dude, it was a trip. And at that point, we hadn't slept in like 2.5 days. So it's like half hallucinating, half playing games. It was insane. I mean,
man, I bet I would have liked TempleCon.
I chase that convention experience every time I go because things come close, but they're not that. And that was, I went there and I hadn't played a ton of War Machine, but I was like, what's the best way to learn? Play a bunch of games. I bet I played 30 games that weekend. Yeah. And I came back, me and John came back, and we're just noob stomping everybody. Like, we had played so many games and saw so many things. But that was a trip, man. Every hall you go down, there's like vampires making out, drunk. Like, you're like, what is happening? Like, every corner. You'd go into rooms and like, it's like, I'm not sure I'm supposed to be here, but this is a convention, so I think I can go in there. And again, they're like monsters, like jumping around on trampolines, and you're like, what is this? This is the craziest shit.
I have a fun story from my second Adepticon.
Yeah.
So there was this, I don't know, he was one of like the well-known guys in like the War Machine community from Chicago. And he's famous for getting really drunk at conventions and like basically passing out. And so he gets super blacked out like Saturday night, falls asleep. And so they go and find a wheelchair. And they put him in the wheelchair. And they're wheeling him around the convention passed out for 10 hours straight, right? They're like introducing him to people while he's asleep, and like they wheel him around. For a while they left him in the elevators, and so he's going up and down elevators with just random people. It's like, what is wrong with you people? And he woke up the next day in somebody's closet. like they just wheeled him into a closet in a random room he didn't know and just left him in there overnight. It's like, oh my god.
Oh man. Yep, them were the days. I remember. So there was one convention, just another random story, one convention where Jason Souls ended up amongst the group we were talking to. And for those who don't know, that's one of the main designers of War Machine Hordes. That dude is sick and twisted and crazy. I'm gonna say that.
That guy's legit deranged.
Yeah, like he started talking about paintings with using blood and like menstrual blood on paintings and shit. We're like, yeah, cool. I think we gotta go.
Fucking Jason Souls is a trip. He has like a Patreon art page you can go to.
Yeah.
You can pay money to look at his cat skull art, where he makes art out of cat skulls, and it's okay. He's just a different kind of guy. Yeah. That's fine.
Different cat. We were definitely like sitting there listening to every word he had to say about rules and whatever, and all of a sudden we're like, nope.
Takes all kinds. You keep that warm, bud.
Yeah.
Head on out.
All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed our random ramblings. We've had fun telling them, and we'll be back next season with some more good times. Goodbye.
Later.
Ta-ta. The end.
Finn.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
We did it! 100.
We did it times 100.
We did well. Ooh. I mean, Shawn Michaels isn't doing that good, but
Turn wrestling off.
I'm not.
No more watching. You can't watch wrestling on the podcast.
The Undertaker he looks like he's about to come back. He's doing pretty good, honestly, for a man of his age.
Most people don't know, but Undertaker was 75 in this match. Holy shit.
Most people don't realize. He's filing for Social Security and also slamming people.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so first off, when does She-Hulk start?
Tomorrow.
This
And
Thursday. Tomorrow.
Is it worth watching, do you think?
I think it's
I
going to be
think for
great.
sure.
Is
I
it?
I
It's
think
gonna
it's going to be really good.
I am more excited for She-Hulk than I have been for any Marvel thing recently. I'm actually super
Man,
excited.
I think that's... I don't know about that. I heard
Parker
that...
has bad taste in general, but I will confirm I also think it's going to be good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What makes you think it'll be good?
The previews and the plot.
I think the tone is going to be great. I think it's going to
Yeah.
be super. I think it's going to be super tongue in cheek, super aware of itself, and I think they're taking the best parts of the She-Hulk comic and they're making that the theme, and I think it's going to be really good.
Wait.
I know you have reservations because she's very jacked, and that's going to be a problem for you.
Which one of you watched all of Miss Marvel?
I did.
Yeah, that one.
I did.
Okay.
I did not.
Did you like it?
Did I watch all? Did I like it?
Yeah.
I liked it. I guess like I don't know, like chocolate milk. Like I could see how some people would enjoy it. I wouldn't spit it out, but it was sweet and simple. I didn't.
Was
like
it? Was it cute? Like nice? It was
It was
okay.
fine. It was
Fine.
It was made to
Okay,
for
which
young
Star
women.
Wars movie was it the equivalent of?
Oh my god.
Probably number 1, episode 1.
Okay.
I was gonna say it's like episode 1 or number 1.
When I
Was Jar
say
Jar
well,
Binks in that?
I don't use the number of orders of releases. I use the numbers of the episodes. Yeah, it's episode
Okay.
1. It
All
felt
right.
like it was for little bitty kids the whole time I watched it. I was like,
Ooh.
this is something that I appreciate, like the canon, but this was made for
Like
children.
the highest point of it was good, but it was just a lot of child filler.
It was
Like the
things
first
that
Harry Potter
kids-
movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah,
was
no, actually, I would
Better.
Thank you. I was waiting to fucking hit a nerve. At some point, I knew I was going to get somebody.
Wait, are we saying that Aaron, are you saying that Harry Potter was bad or that Miss Marvel was good?
Neither. I'm saying that Miss
Okay.
Marvel was better than the first Harry Potter film.
You're a wizard, Harry. I'm a
I don't know that I'm okay with that statement.
Huh. Okay.
Get him.
And I haven't even
Get him.
watched Miss
Fight,
Marvel.
fight.
I have
And I
few-
don't even think Sorcerer's Stone was a good movie.
I have huge issues with the first two Potter books / films.
I mean, they were literally written for children, so I think that's a fair opinion to have.
I did not want my time back after watching Miss Marvel.
Yeah,
Okay,
I will
that's
agree. My daughter liked it a lot more than I did, but and she's 15. It will help bring in people who haven't read the comics but have watched the movies. So I think it's good for the universe to appeal to a broad audience. And it was not time I thought was wasted.
Real quick, guys, I have an audio issue. Does anybody else hear like a little bit of static in the line, or is it just on my end?
I am not hearing any static.
It's you.
Okay.
Jeremy, I'll tell you this. If this gives you like a good idea of the tone of it, at one point, a serious paramilitary organization needs to get some of the main characters. It needs to get them. And so the main characters decide to booby trap a high school like Home Alone style and use that to obfuscate an actual serious paramilitary organization, and it works for like 10 minutes of screen time. So if that tells
Nice.
you like the level of this movie, I think in that way, like Home Alone 1 is probably a good parallel. Like,
Okay.
Home
like,
Alone meets
it's-
Marvel. I like it.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that's probably a good like marriage
All right.
analogy.
All right. I'll watch it with my boys.
I liked the Family Guy Home Alone parody where the people break in and they're like, "Hey, was that doorknob like really hot to you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just like let go though. Like I just didn't hold on to it for a long time." And he's like, "Also, there's these little like Matchbox cars all over the floor, so watch your step. He's like, good call. And then, like, the kid shows himself at the top stairs. I have trapped this whole house. And they shoot him, like, 8 times. It's like, good, there's no witnesses. Then they steal everything. Like,
Nice.
Yeah,
I thought that was good.
Yeah. The one thing, actually, I'll say Home Alone that you remember. If you've ever rewatched Home Alone recently, my wife and I thought it would be a wholesome like movie to show our kids. There is so much cursing in like the first 15 minutes of Home Alone. It's kind of like, since I'm an adult now, I guess I noticed it, but the way they talk to each other, like the children talk to each other, is so terrible. It was obviously written by adults to show like kids are evil. Look at them talk. Like it was, rewatch the first 15 minutes of Home Alone to the human dialogue when he's talking about his family. They treat him like shit, and I think they call him a shithead at one point. Like
No, it's not a shithead. It's a John Hughes movie, but they use a lot of like, you're an idiot. Like, you are stupid. That's the way they talk to each other, and it's really aggressive. Like, people don't talk like that.
A couple times.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think I've seen some children talk like that.
Listen, yet again, that's a Brandon Shirley thing.
That's a Brandon problem.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could see how you could be talked to like that in an alley in Vegas by yourself.
You were thrown through plate glass windows when you were. Look, your life is so.
We didn't have any plate glass windows; they were already broken.
Your parents said they were pre-broken.
Yeah, we just lived places that, like, I remember one place I lived where there was just literally a missing wall on the second story. Like, the wall had like collapsed out, and like they just put up a tarp, and like, we lived there for over a year.
Oh my God.
Lived is such a powerful word to describe what you could do in a
We
place
had
like that.
television. It's not like we were savages.
Yeah.
I watched
TV.
MASH and fucking Voyager. Like,
We had
MASH is
TV. We looked through the hole in the floor and watched the TV of the neighbor.
yeah.
It's fine.
Ugh.
How's our Guernsey audience doing?
Oh, I'm sure they're still kicking, or either
Yeah?
they gave up. I don't know. I guess
I
I
had
could
the shirts made. I mean,
You had the Guernsey shirts made.
yeah.
Good. That's good.
So I want you to know, Guernsey showed up in my life in another way recently, and as soon as
No.
it happened, I went, Guernsey! The situation was I was watching a clip of this BBC comedy. It's like a modern, like, what's the, like, a version, like a Gilmore Girls, but British. And so, I was watching a clip from it, and the gal was trying streaming for the first time as like a method to make money, and she goes, "Who's Guernsey guy 44?" And she said, "I don't know." He goes, "He's probably wanking." He goes, "No, he's not wanking." He goes, "What about Wankmaster 77?" He goes, "Yeah, he's probably wanking." It's just like, and I just remember hearing Guernsey guy 44. I was like, Guernsey.
Oh my God.
That's my Guernsey tie. That's the second time in my life I knew that Guernsey was a place that mattered. That's the second time. But I am so like hair trigger for Guernsey now. You remember when you see like a Volkswagen Beetle, and then you're like, I don't ever see Beetles anymore, and then you only see Beetles. That's me in Guernsey now. I see Guernsey everywhere I go.
Or if you buy a black SUV, and like suddenly all SUVs are exactly like yours. Yeah.
It won't tell me the exact number, but I'm worried. It looks like the population in Guernsey may have grown.
God damn, I knew it.
So it says it's a 50-50 split between Guernsey and St. Peter Port.
So either one guy left,
But it doesn't tell me
guy
the
joined.
numbers.
Oh man.
It doesn't tell me the numbers, but like it gives me breakdowns. It's like 47% on Spotify, 36% on Apple Podcast. So unless they're watching it on different or like listening to it on different devices, this is implying there's a lot of people listening in Guernsey.
Man.
Rightfully
Like
so.
9% of the bracket is 45 to 59. 2% of the bracket, like if you have a 2% of a bracket, that means there's got to be at least 50 people, or else 2% is impossible.
Yep.
So
I'm really proud of ourselves.
I don't know.
I think we've really done it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I've got some announcements. We'll talk about some statistics when we get
Okay.
to
well
the
done.
announcements.
So I saw the first episode of Sandman.
I did as well.
I have not read the comics at all, which is I know
I have not either.
I really need to. I think.
This is a DC comic?
Yes, I think so.
Is it? I don't think it's set.
Oh,
it's not
wait.
set in the DC universe.
It might be a dark horse, honestly.
Because Neil Gaiman wrote it.
I thought it was DC, but I could be wrong.
It's
like based off like this like
Okay, so
ancient.
DC owned it first, then Vertigo
Okay.
published it for 7 years,
Mm.
and which is a subsidiary of DC, and then DC Black Label, which is I think just another like subsidiary. So it's technically DC, but it's not at all associated with the DC primary universe. It's its own
So-
fictional universe.
Did you enjoyed it? Obviously, I mean, you were thinking more about it.
Yeah, it really is a good hook. Like they do a really good job
Yeah.
hooking. I really like how fast it jumps in. And then it really slowed down. Did you feel that way? I felt like I plunged down deep really fast and I was just sinking like a rock, and all of a sudden I just stopped. Somebody gave me a long snorkel and I just hung out right there for like another 45 minutes.
Did
And
you watch
then
any? Like,
kept
did you get to the second episode yet?
I've
said
not
you just
watched
watched
the
the
second
first one.
episode. I just
Okay.
watched the first one. That's
No,
all we
it
had
keeps
time
moving
for.
along. It moves right along.
Yeah.
I
It
think
felt
it's
very
gonna be
much
fantastic.
It felt very much like some other Neil Gaiman stuff that I have read and watched. I wish I knew more about his style, because I feel like I can recognize it every time. It's almost this like whimsical Armageddon is the best way to put
Yes.
it. Like all of his books are about a very fancy way that everything's coming to an end. And all the characters are super self-aware and super very aware of everything going on, and it's a very interesting storytelling style. But I need to read the comics. I think I would enjoy the comics a lot. Not to say I won't enjoy this, but
I do know that years and years and years ago, in my, I don't know, teen/20s, I lived in a house with a bunch of people who, one of the guys was very much into that comic book. Like it was kind of almost a lifestyle. Like it was like such an important title to them, and I never knew why. I was like, okay, whatever, dude. But it's pretty cool. Seems really good.
Cool.
The Lord of the Rings is getting ready to come out. This is a big time. The Game of Thrones spinoff is getting ready to come out.
I love Game of Thrones in the extended universe. I don't want that to succeed for some reason. I don't. There's something.
I didn't even know they were making a fucking follow-up show.
Of course, they have to,
House
right?
of the Dragons?
They have to. They have to keep capitalizing on that somehow. It's like the one thing HBO was selling really hot.
That's it.
The only thing
man.
I never watched Game of Thrones. I saw a bunch of clips and people talked about it, but like the books were already ruined for me a long time ago, so I was never able to get into it because I don't like spoilers, and so like the entire show was basically spoiled for me, and I just didn't like it. I don't know why.
Did you watch? Did you read the books?
No, but like I had 3 friends that read the books, and they talked about it all the fucking
Oh,
time.
that's terrible. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Mhm.
And so like half of his fucking writing style is the shock twists that happen all the time.
Mhm.
And so it was just like, I don't care. Like none of this is entertaining.
I feel
It
like
looked like it was a high quality show. Like it looked like it was well produced and everything, but
that show had some moments in it that were worth the entirety of the show to
Mhm.
happen, because I will never forget them. Like there were some such powerful, like cool things that happened in it. Battle of the Bastards, like if you ever know about what this show's about and whatever, like that episode was so fucking cool and insane. Like there's a couple episodes that are like that, but like it all kind of built towards that and then collapsed at the end, obviously, because that's what all the memes are about, is how shitty the end was. But whatever. That to me doesn't define the show. The show was defined on watching the mountain fight a little dude that almost, like stuff like that. Like there's just
The Viper
insane
versus the
stuff.
Mountain is one of the most amazing moments.
So fucking cool.
Because of everything it represents, plus the actual like moment itself was
Dude.
amazing.
Like
There were
all
so
of it was so cool. Like I said, there's such epic moments in that show that made the show worth it, regardless of the end.
Yeah, if I was to tell somebody to watch it who didn't see it, I would tell them to watch the whole show and then write your own ending. Like, do that.
When you get to season 4.5,
Yeah.
just close that shit. What would you like to happen?
Yeah.
Because it ain't
I'm
what's gonna
curious.
happen.
I'm honestly curious how much of this is subjective and like groupthink stuff. Because, for example, I watched Arrested Development finally a couple years ago, and I watched as far as I understand, I watched all 5 seasons,
That's true.
and like
There's
the
5.
5th season is the one done by Netflix, right?
Correct.
And everyone says it's way worse than the other seasons,
Correct.
right?
I don't agree, but continue.
So I watched all 5 of them back to back, having never watched the show before, and I did not notice the difference at any point. I didn't know there was a break.
Oh,
like,
really?
The only reason I knew that the 5th season was not originally part of the show was because people told me, like, after the fact. And I was like, oh. Well, I didn't even notice. I thought the whole thing was great. Like, I liked the show in general, and I didn't notice a fall off at all. And so I think that's like a subjective nostalgia thing, is people put so much pressure on this, like, reboot next season, and then it will never live up to their standards. And because of that, they don't like it. And then the groupthink says, okay, well, we don't like it, it's bad. And then they just put that out there. Now everyone watches it with this expectation of it being bad, and so they look for flaws.
I wish that were true, except they windmill slammed every possible ending for that movie all in like 2 episodes. They just windmill slammed it.
You're talking about what?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Game of Thrones.
No, I understand.
I haven't seen Game of Thrones.
Yes.
I understand what the problem people have with it, though. And I'm not going to argue that it wasn't rushed, because everything I know about it sounds like if that had just happened over 8 episodes or had some time skips involved, people would have not really cared. Yeah. But because they painted themselves into a corner, because they did not pace the end of the show well, they were fucked. And so, yeah, there was clearly not... But, like, if you just need to tell yourself this happened over 2 years instead of 2 episodes, like, doesn't that just fix the problem?
Sure.
Sounds like the problem's your problem, then. Like, yeah, it could have been better, but I think people are just freaking out. Like, they just want to complain on the internet.
I'm talking about Arrested Development, not Game of Thrones.
Okay.
You switched it up on me there.
I did switch it up on you.
Yeah. Anywho, I agree. Like, some of the parts in Arrested Development that last season were really fucking funny. With Michael living with his son in college or whatever, and you kind of find that out. You're like, what's happening here? Like, there's tons of funny shit. Like, it's, it is what it is. That show was funny and stupid the whole time.
Yeah. I watched the episode with, where he's the drone pilot, and oh my god, I just can't remember. The younger brother.
Buster,
yeah. Buster is a drone pilot because the army takes advantage of his incredible his childlike whimsy and his childlike inability to tell reality from fantasy. So he's like, take that, Taliban winning, ha ha.
Oh my god.
And then the guy tells him, he goes, I think you just took out an army convoy. I think you actually hurt people. He goes, I can actually hurt people? And he freaks out and has a panic attack and falls backwards. And for the first time ever, the drone pilot paramedics were called, and they're very excited about it because they never have any injuries to go and help. That show.
See, when I watch that show, because I'll put it on from time to time on Netflix or whatever, but I like the first 2 seasons. So that's just my, like, I will only re-watch the first 2. So if people ask or whatever, I'm like, it's a great show. But for me, like, I can quote and, like, deal with the first 2 seasons really, really well. And the last ones, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It kind of goes crazy to me. Like, it goes, like, into this land of absurd. But the first 2 seasons are absurd, too. So whatever,
I do like the Mr. F season. I like that a lot. Mr. F. That was really good stuff. That was, I think, season 4, maybe 3 or 4.
So, Aaron, you gotta start watching The Boys?
About next week, I will.
So do I need to pre-enroll for this tournament coming up at the Geekery, do you think?
You don't have to, but you can. In fact, I doubt anyone has, but let's check.
There may not be room for you, Parker, at this point. It's probably sold out.
Probably sold out. Yep, it's currently at 0. I didn't think he might sign up early, though.
Okay.
I really want you to come, Parker, but if you can't, it'd be hilarious if Perrin somehow manages to take the cake and get qualified.
There we go. There's lining there. It's silver. I like that.
That'd be really awkward, because right now he is not coming to Vegas, but my wife is. There are certain things you do in Vegas with your wife you do not do with your son. It's a very different vacation.
Oh, okay. So this is, I don't know why I didn't bring this
So
up.
you're saying he needs to stay with us if he goes.
So what? That was the next thing I
Yeah.
was going to bring up. Are we rooming together? Jeremy usually does his own thing, but are you staying with us, Jeremy, or is it? Because I'm assuming
No,
I'm
I have
hooking up.
a hookup.
You do? Yeah.
Yep, I have a hookup.
Okay.
Is this like a Vegas hookup or just like a normal hookup?
I mean, I wouldn't call her a prostitute, but
But
I mean,
she does.
I'm
so.
not paying her. No, one of the 40K guys is one of my good friends, and he's always there every year. So I'm gonna hang with him, or I'm gonna stay with him and then hang with the other stuff.
Do I know him? Is one of the guys I know from the other cons?
I don't know, maybe Doug. He runs around.
I do not remember a Doug.
You know my friend John. He
Yeah, John.
is maybe, depending on the way War Machine kind of hashes itself out and how he feels about it and whatever, he might come to that, but he's also going to hang with us in that room. Like I say, Doug always gets a room every year, and he gets it immediately after. He's like every year he just has it. So I've got that part covered for me.
I am not going to share a room with either of you guys.
Well, yeah.
But me, what about me?
If my wife's into it,
Oh
I'll
god.
ask her.
Well, I'll just be out until 4 a.m, so it won't matter anyway.
Okay.
You
Yeah, I was
guys
gonna
will be
say,
well asleep
I
by
don't
then.
mind. I never mind rooming with Brandon, because rooming with Brandon actually is
Just means you go to
every-
sleep 3 hours before I show up.
yeah, like every 20 hours I might see you in the room because you.
Yeah,
did
going to
sometimes
conventions with Aaron has been weird because we're back at the room at 9:30, and I'm like, I have to be awake for the next 4 hours because my body won't let me go to sleep. I watch a lot of TV on my phone.
Oh, yeah, well, I can tell you Vegas, I'll be running about quite a bit.
Where are you guys going to stay? Are you planning on staying in the hotel where it's
Yeah.
going on?
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Brandon, we got to get on that shit. Do you want?
Yeah.
I'm gonna fly for sure because I don't think I can afford the time. I will pay to have my time so I could stay there more.
Yeah, being that it's so far away, I don't even think a train is a real option because we've looked at trains and it's
it takes
I want to
forever
say
on a
10 or
train.
12 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an extra day off on both sides.
Yeah, my thing is I just get to actually be there more if I get there faster. So I'm gonna get a plane ticket real soon here. Brandon, do you want me to just send you stuff that I find out, or
Sure.
are you gonna figure it out your own way? Jeremy, do you already have all that figured out?
No, I haven't done any plane stuff.
Okay, I'll send you stuff if I find a good
Okay.
deal.
Sure.
Aaron, I assume you got your shit together.
I have not gotten planes yet.
Oh, really? Are you doing plane then, or are you guys gonna drive?
90% chance we'll fly.
Okay.
So do you guys want to hear a funny story that involves the geekery?
Of course.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So, because Aaron, technically you work for this person that made this decision. So we're holding a GT next month, a grand tournament for 40K.
Uh-huh.
And I know a couple of our listeners, John and Connor specifically, already know where this is going. So because we were making our own GT, we wanted it to be store branded. And so we're coming up with names for the tournament.
Oh, God.
And so the tournament is the second week of September, and EJ came up with the idea to name it after the war between the chaos dimension and the material dimension, which is the 40K dimension. And so it was called the Peril of the Planes, which is the Eye of Terror kind of thing. It's the forces leaving the chaos dimension to go fight the warp, to go fight other armies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the Peril of the Planes is happening on September 11th. I did not make this up. This is a real thing that happened. It was spelled the planes, the dimension, not planes, the fucking machine, but
Oh, it
yeah,
wasn't
so
even
we
called.
had to-
It wasn't planes like the Great Plains, PLAINS.
no, it's planes of existence.
right. So it's
Yeah,
spelled
which
like
is-
the airplanes.
Yeah,
Well done.
it was apparently unintentional, and so has
Too-
since been changed.
I
It is
don't
now
know
the
that it's too
Peril
soon.
of the Geekery.
I don't
It's
know.
not too soon.
I don't know if it's too soon.
Yeah.
I mean, they made it a goddamn
so
holiday.
this
so,
happened.
Wow. Congrats,
what
guys.
And then you fixed it this way is the end of the story, right? Because that's not how the end of that happened. That's not EJ. Tell me EJ didn't shrug and go, well, I guess that's going to happen. Please.
Well, it's definitely too late to change it now.
I mean, all the shirts are made.
I actually said we changed it. It's now the Peril of the Geekery tournament, which sounds way better. No, it doesn't.
Is that
The
really
Perils
what
of
it
the
is now?
Geekery's naming is what the actual tournament is now.
Yikes.
Should have been Geek Fest 2022. Geek often, geek hard.
Nope. Hey, Jeremy, how did knights communicate in medieval times?
I don't know, Brandon. How do they communicate?
Chainmail. Get it? Because they would mail chain letters to each. Okay.
Nope.
All right, fine.
Good job.
Okay. I got another one that's kind of wordy, but we'll do that one later.
Planes, spelled like the plane, like an airplane.
Actually, let me go back and check. It might have been plains like the Midwest plains.
It sounds like it should be PLAINS.
Maybe the advertising for this was just bad in general.
Yeah, I don't think you had a very good marketing person, honestly.
I didn't know this was a thing until they told me about the mistake, and I was like, "Oh God,
What have you all done?
I feel like everyone needs to just run everything by me, but like I don't know. I miss stuff too, obviously, but man, I feel like we walk into a lot of stuff when I don't know about it.
The sliding glass door was clearly closed.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it. We wasted enough time. You guys
Sure.
ready?
All right. So Aaron's computer turns off in 4 minutes?
8.
Not
Oh,
quite.
no.
I held up the 8-minute sign,
Yep.
and then a thumbs up, but I didn't get a response. So
If you weren't an hour and 20 minutes late, Parker.
that's true. We could have kept going.
Yeah, we
I like
could
the fact
have.
that we have a hard cap. I appreciate that.
I appreciate the hard cap.
I do.
I
I
remember there was a
appreciate the
couple
hard
times
cap.
we ended at 2:00, and it was like Jeremy's like, "I gotta go to bed. I have to leave for work soon."
I mean, I could always turn off the,
Yeah,
the thing that
Nah.
turns
That
off the internet,
No.
but
effort. Though.
I'm with
We
Jeremy.
really-
I'm like,
We really like it.
We do. We really like it.
Yeah.
Favorite
I have to get
that
up and go to
list.
work in the morning, so 1 o'clock's a good time to go to bed.
So Jeremy, I was at this party a few months ago, and I left my watch at the party, and so I go back to get it, right? And I go in, and there's this guy standing on my watch having an argument with a woman, and he's just screaming at her, right? So I step in between him, I hit him square in the face, and I say, "Nobody talks to a woman like that. Not on my watch."
Nope.
Nope. That was a good one. Come on.
Nope.
You didn't get that one in advance, at least. You had to wait for
I,
the punchline.
I
It
saw
was
it coming.
sneaky,
I was
but
waiting
not
for the
worth it.
punchline.
He knew it was a joke, but he
It just
didn't know
kept
where.
going and going, going.
Oh, really? That was the shorter version. I
Oh,
guess
Lord.
I should not tell the longer one.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we could have told stories about how often your vehicle breaks down, how often you leave people stranded.
Oh man. Oh wait, do we have enough time? We have
Nope.
6 minutes. Parker, is that enough time to tell the Denver story?
I think it's worth it.
All right,
Yeah,
we're
go
gonna try
for
and
it.
rush through it.
Sneak
I'm gonna
it
try
in.
and get through it. If Aaron, if you disconnect, just clap 3 times and end. All right. All right. So, dear God. So, I have this new car I bought from an auction. It's a 95 Suburban. And we decided to go to Feast of Blades, one of the last years they had it. I actually think it was the last year they had it. I'm driving. We've got 5 of us in the car. It's me, Parker, Jeremy Gregg, Max, and Jake. So we're going. I'm going to pick up, I think it was Jake and Lawrence. We're driving to Lawrence, and I pick up Jake in a parking lot of some weird warehouse. I don't know why we picked him up there and not at his house. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I go to turn around. So I reach up to pick the thing, because it's the old, shaft on the steering column kind of car. I go to take it from reverse to drive, and I go to pull down, and it just rips the entire lever handle
The entire
off the steering column.
thing.
Rips it clean off with the mechanism it attaches to. And I just stand there for 3 minutes staring at it. And I look at the passenger seat. Jeremy's like, like, okay, how do we, it's in reverse. What are we supposed to do? Drive home in reverse? We're in the middle of Lawrence. This is 45 minutes from my house. And so I'm frantically trying to figure out what to do because we're just stuck here. I'm like, so I rip part of the dash off, break the dash to reach my hand down, because I don't have tools with me. Reach my hand down the steering column into the linkage, and finally, after about 10 minutes, figure out how the mechanism articulates to change gears. And I basically cut my hand open trying to change into drive. Pull my hand out, it's all bloody. I'm like, all right, it's in drive. And then I'm like, I look at Jeremy like, where are we going? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, are we still going to Denver or are we going home? Because none of us have a car 5 people can fit in, except for this one. He's like, I think we're good. So we keep on driving to Denver.
Oh my god.
We basically have a fairly uneventful ride to Denver, except we have to stop for gas twice. I basically have to ruin and mangle my hand to reach down into the broken plastic of the dash and switch gears from park to drive repeatedly. We get to Denver, and our outdated map software is all fucked up. We basically drive around Denver 4 times because they're updating their highways loop, and there's just like big sections missing. On it's like the fucking movie Speed, where there's just like a highway that's not finished, and our map software has told us to take this highway, and so we just drive all over Denver. We're driving down weird downtown streets that dead end, trying to find our fucking hotel. Anyway, throughout the weekend, just more terrible stuff happens on our road trip. That nothing outside of the car, only in the car did bad stuff happen. And then we go to drive home, and the car won't start. And so I can't figure out what's wrong with it until eventually we realize it's the starter. The starter has gone bad. And so I'm underneath the car, beating on the starter with a rock in the parking lot, trying to get this fucking car to start. And we're there for an hour and a half, just trying to get the fucking thing to turn over. Finally, it starts. We start driving. I look at Jeremy and said, we're not turning this car off ever again. I'm not kidding. This car will not turn off for the rest of ever. And that was correct. We drove home. We put gas in the car with it running because we were not going to get stranded in Great Plains, Kansas. It's way too fucking far away from other humans. And so yeah, we drive all the way home. And I never drove that car again. I literally sold it like a year later. It just sat in our driveway for over a year.
People still trust you to drive for some fucking reason.
Hey, my new car's good.
When that gear shift broke off,
When it tore up that was the most dumbfounded I've ever been in my entire life.
I don't think I've ever been in a situation that I was quite that well, now what? I don't.
Yeah.
It's just you know what I mean?
It was just
like
oh
this,
my God.
this sentiment. Because
your brain, there's no road out that you can think of because this has never happened to a human before.
And also, we have this huge expectation for what's about to happen. We're all all upended our lives to a certain degree. Nobody wants to cancel
their weekend. Yeah, right. It was horrible.
And then literally one of the key part, a very small yet incredibly key part of the vehicle, just falls off like leprosy. That comes and you're just oh.
So anyway, yeah. So just the moral of the story is stick with me. I'll get us home.
Yeah, that's a good moral. Yeah, right. You were determined.
And on that, we have to go.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.